Hello and welcome to Poker Night Live. It's the only show that brings you live Texas Hold'em poker 7 nights a week just for your education and your entertainment. I'm Kara Scott, and with me is one of our panel of poker experts, a poker guru, if you will, Cass.
Mark called me legendary last night. It's not quite up to it, is it?
I said legend. Oh, he said legend. I said guru.
Legend, guru.
Guru.
It's alright, it's okay. It's
legendary means you're in the past, really, doesn't it?
It does, actually, doesn't it?
Kinda. It does. I'm saying you're a guru in the present. He said you were a legend. I think that just, I don't really think that cuts it, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Be honest.
I plan to be honest with you. Right. Now, we are a live and interactive show here. We're all about the poker. We're all about helping you with your poker. So if you want to know anything in particular, it's an amateur night here, a beginner's night. You can get in touch with us here in the studio a couple of different ways with your questions and your comments. Right now, there's a new text number. Make sure you take that into account if you're one of our regular viewers. Text the word poker first. You must do that. And then your question to 84222. That's a new number, so make sure you do that.
What happens if you don't?
Well, it doesn't get through to us.
Where does it go?
It goes out into the mad universe of the interweb.
Do you vote for Shane by mistake?
You might do. See, you might do. You really don't want to do that, do you?
No.
There we go. You can send us an email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And there we have it. So that's how you get in touch with us here. Cass is here all night. Well, so am I, really. But what you really need to know is that Cass is here all night for your poker pleasure, really. Use him, because that's why he's here. Ask him lots of questions. So do we have a bit of a theme for tonight?
Well, we do. You know, I've been playing on the internet today, and
really?
I've been enjoying the amount of abuse I've been getting.
Really?
So I thought we've all enjoyed a bit of abuse, haven't we, in our time on the internet? So why don't we share some of the best abuse that we've received and, go on then, given. So what is the most vitriolic, the most nasty, the most funny abuse that you've received? In a game a little while ago, some guy went all in for 1,500 to win 30, and then when he got called, he said, I was bluffing. Which is not abuse, but it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen anyone write. So one of the funny things that you've seen people write, I've had a guy literally chase me table to table for 3 hours, abusing me. Like he had nothing else to do in his life. I outdrew in a sit and go. And some people, when they outdraw you in a sit and go, they will tell you they've outdrawn you, as if you've never, ever, ever had an outdraw go against you, as if that's not what happens in poker. So I thought, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's talk about our outdraws. Not our outdraws, our abuse.
The abuse, yeah, give us your stories about the abuse you've both given and received at a poker table online, maybe even a live one. It's up to you. But we do want to hear about it here, so let us know here in the studio. And it might make us laugh, it probably will. And if it's not to be read out to the general public, we'd still appreciate you sending it in, because I still think it'd be quite funny.
We'll read it with bleeps, and if not, tell you what, if it's really obscene, the producers will still send it through, and we'll read it.
We'll chuckle.
No, and then what we'll do is we'll laugh on air, and we'll have some sort of laughometer going throughout the night. So the one that gets the biggest laugh will receive, not prizes, because we don't do that anymore, apparently, but something in lieu of a prize, maybe a night with Michelle.
Oh, she'll love that.
2 nights to the loser. So no, I've got it wrong.
That's really rude.
Yeah.
Michelle, if you're watching,
I was really rude to her last
seriously.
night. I called her a 6-pointer. That's bad,
That's awful.
Bad.
That's so wrong as well. It's just because you're a bit scared she's about to beat your record here.
Everyone thinks I fancy her. I'm trying to dispel them of that misconception.
Oh, that's going to work. Why don't you, like, dip her ponytail in the inkwell like they used to do at school or something? Yeah, make fun of her, because then no one's going to think that you like her.
Are you being euphemistic?
Yeah. I'm not being euphemistic.
You were being euphemistic last time, weren't you? Do you remember?
No.
I think you just have a naturally euphemistic turn of phrase.
Maybe I do. Maybe it's the Canadian in me.
Something you're blessed with. Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
No.
Sarcasm will get you, well, lots of places, really.
Let's go around the tables.
Let's do that.
Maybe it's the Canadian in me.
Oh.
Your words, not mine. $5 sit and go there.
Uh-huh, look at that.
Maybe we'll come back to it later. That's £5. $10 sit and go.
Ah, I was looking at this one earlier.
Yes, were you?
I was, in fact.
So was I. There's Hoofy.
Mm-hmm. Balrog.
Cash game, $25.50. Cents, not dollars. Still fun.
All the fun there.
And finally, on tonight's show,
Dun dun dun.
VMTT.
There we go.
Not an added prize pool tonight. Do you know yesterday there was an MTT with 100 players, right, paying $10. That's $1,000.
Yeah.
To which they'd added $2,000 to the prize pool.
Really?
It must be the highest proportionate expectation I've ever seen online.
Wow.
Adding twice the money to the prize pool.
That's huge.
It is huge.
That is quite big.
It is
Actually,
really big.
we're going to be doing tomorrow night, I believe, the tournament that you're going to be seeing if you tune in tomorrow night, and you should, will be the very first ever Poker Night Live qualifier for the Poker Bowl. It should be quite interesting to watch, so you may want to tune in and watch that.
Excellent.
Because apparently it's going to be very exciting.
Brilliant.
These are not my words, but I believe it with all my heart. Right, and tonight on the show as well, I'm going to be playing Beat the Presenter. We had an arm wrestle before the show, and I won. That's not true. But still, I'll be doing the Beat the Presenter slot because I love it so much. So in the next hour, I'll be playing, not in this hour, the next one, and then we'll be showing it back just like usual in the third hour of the show so that Cass can commentate and pull to pieces my poker strategy.
As indeed I will after that.
Oh, I'm sure, and laughing quite a bit as well. Right, where should we go now? MTT? A little bit of MTT action?
A little bit of MTT action, please, Mum.
Oh, just for you. And there it is. You can tell because it's green.
Look at that.
Look at that. There we go, so we have 121 runners on that. That's 16 different tables. The blinds are going to go up every 12 minutes, or right at the beginning here. The blinds are 15 and 30. Now we're going to be dipping in and out of this one all night, of course, just like usual, and then coming back at the end of the night to watch the final table and see who takes down the grand prize. And we'll go through the prizes with you as well a little bit later on.
Cheech and Chong. Have you ever seen any Cheech and Chong movies?
I've seen pretty much all of them.
Have you?
Yeah.
Are they good?
I was really young. Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're all, it's you know, stoner humor.
All about getting stoned, yeah.
Yeah.
Humour.
When they
of
drive a
getting stoned.
car entirely made of, you know, illegal substances across the border. That's quite funny. But I
Sure, it's
was
all
about
funny.
8 at the time, so
Really?
yeah.
How did you find it funny at 8? You're not supposed to know what that is at 8.
No, but you know.
Very liberated.
Well, I grew up in Canada, and my parents are quite liberated.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Queen 10. Raising up versus Queen 6. Do you know, I've been playing all day today.
Really? You've got a head full of poker, huh?
Well, I don't know why. During the first sit and go last night, I enjoyed it so much that I decided to play a second one straight away, so I played 2 last night. And
Did you win?
Went straight to bid. Came third twice.
Very nice.
First, second, third. What that means is that I'm getting worse. That
Right.
can only mean that next time I'm going to come fourth.
Well, then you'll be right where I am usually.
My first bubble.
That's quite funny. Your
Yeah.
very first. Huh?
Not ever.
Well, no, I meant, but in a long time. I would
Although,
think.
to be honest with you, I don't know, yeah, the bubble's not where I usually go out, I have to say. I do tend to go out either in the early stages or in the money and sit and goes. I don't know why that is. Why is that?
You're quite aggressive in the early stages.
I like to accumulate chips, so yes, I
Yeah.
suppose that's what it is. I'm either accumulating or busting out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to mix up my game a bit tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Well, if I say it on air, people are going to know how I'm playing, aren't they?
That's true. I always do, though.
Really?
Yeah.
No. I'm
Just
not
be
going.
honest.
Well,
Honesty is the best policy, seriously.
what? And that really helps with bluffing and whatnot as well.
What does Bad Boy Pete do here? He's made a play, it's been raised. It's a no-brainer, really, Bad Boy. You just lay it down, you don't worry about it.
Say goodbye.
Yeah, when your bluff goes wrong, your bluff goes wrong. There's no shame. Best thing to do is get rid of it as soon as possible.
Don't get too attached to your cards.
Well, all your bluffs, all your moves.
What's your favourite? MTTs, tournaments, cash games? Personally.
For me, sit and goes.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, definitely. By quite a long shot, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How come? Because it's... Oh, we've talked about this because it's got a narrative. It's like a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes. Suits my style for
Yeah.
reasons I can't fully put into words. Not too high a variance, which is good. And fantastic opportunities for abuse, which is, of course, the theme
That
of the
is the
evening.
theme.
What is the funniest abuse that you have received or given to someone else? I tell you who's excellent at abuse, actually, in his own little way.
Yeah?
Nick Wellfall.
He's Very funny. He's a funny, funny man.
He's very good at abuse online. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't condone abuse. I mean, all of this discussion is really very naughty because abuse online is terrible.
Is it? Isn't it part of the game?
No, it's awful. It's
What?
It's people saying things to cyber beings that they wouldn't dare say to someone to their face.
Well, it's kind of part of the community of online people.
Basically,
Not even just poker people. It's
I
just
believe in
people.
karma.
Do you? What goes around comes around.
In fact, one of the few times I was ever rude to someone online, this guy said karma's a very powerful force, and it really freaked me out. And I did really bad at the tournament. I think I lost all my chips to him later on, and I thought, God, that was very clever of him. How did he do that? So ever since then, and indeed before then, I've always been very nice.
Aww. Well, that's sweet.
Mm.
Bit of karma. Well, we've moved tables here in the MTT. This is another one of those 16 initial tables.
Ace Queen. What do you do with Ace Queen when someone raises it up in front of you?
Well, personally,
Mm.
someone raises it up in front of me, I'd probably lay it down.
Yeah,
Depends on
see,
how much. If they,
you,
well,
no, you've got to just
is
flop
it
4
Neo?
fives.
Ooh.
4 fives for Neo.
Wow.
I wonder if that's the Neo.
He spells it wrong. Can't be the Neo.
There it is, look. Well, there isn't the Neo, I mean, he's a fictitious character, really.
Well, yeah, he still is a the Neo.
Ace Queen, there again, Ace Queen suited this time, but no one raises it in front, just a first position caller.
Mm-hmm.
What do you put him on? See, this is what's absolutely key, isn't it? What do you put him on in that situation?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Hmm?
It's all about what you put the other person on. And if someone raises in front of you, of course they can have ace jack, but what do you put them on?
Difficult. I find that a very difficult thing to suss out.
I know, and you know, in poker, you don't want to get yourself into marginal situations where you have to make difficult decisions. I mean, I think that's one of the keys. People have been talking in the forums about I've been identifying certain parts of my strategy, playing the sit and go, and people have been debating like how easy it is or what I'm doing differently that I'm not talking about. Certainly nothing intentionally. But I wonder if that's part of it, is I just don't like to get myself into marginal situations. And very often what you do in the early part of the hand gets you into a marginal situation at the later part of the hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, tonight's Hammer Tonight, isn't it?
It is.
Why don't you talk us through what the hell poker is?
Okay, shall we start at the beginning? Begin at the
Yeah.
beginning and end at the end, just like
Yeah.
they say in Alice in Wonderland.
Do they?
They do. Wake up, Dormouse, wake up. At the tea party. Anyways, there we go. A literary reference for you.
It's not an audition piece, is it?
I do it with enthusiasm.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. With enthusiasm.
And the auditions?
Personally? No, I like to hold the auditions.
Okay.
I work behind the camera.
Okay.
People bow to me. Thank you very much. Anyways, there we go. This is a multi-table tournament. Now, we are looking at Texas Hold'em. That's what we do here on Poker Night Live. We look at it in a few different forms. The first way we look at it is in tournaments, sit and goes. We also look at it in cash games, which are different, and then multi-table tournaments. And what you've got here is a multi-table tournament. You can tell because it's green. Now, we've got 8 people tables here, 8-player tables. The little button that goes around there, that's a little white dot with the D on it. That's the dealer button. And that it sets out what position everyone else is in, basically. So it goes around moves one bit to the, well, clockwise, every hand. And it's followed by the big and small blinds. And those are forced bets. In other forms of poker, obviously, we've got antes, where people will ante in, but these are forced bets. They don't actually get a choice if they're going to make the blinds or not. They have to before they actually see their cards or while they see their cards, and then they can decide from there on if they want to play. Now, everyone gets 2 cards. These are their whole cards. And then 3 cards are dealt down into the middle of the table, and these are all community cards. They belong to everyone. Everyone gets to see them, although their whole cards are usually just kept to themselves. We can see everyone's cards, but that's the magic of television for you. So yes, the 3 cards there in the middle. And then you'll have 2 more. You'll have the turn and the river. And from that, those 7 cards, you make the best 5-card hand that you possibly can. Now, poker's a bit different than other games in that it's not always the best 5-card hand that wins. Sometimes If you go to a showdown, obviously the best hand will win, but if you even have just a marginal hand, you can bluff, you can push people off the pot, you can use your stack to intimidate, you can make a bet or raise up a bet that no one else can match or wants to match, and at that point you win. How am I doing, Sue? So far there, Mr.
Very good,
Poker
very good.
Guru. Thank
Definitely.
you. Thank you very much. And those are kind of the basics of Texas Hold'em. Now, multi-table tournaments are a bit different because the blinds do go up, starting here at 15 and 30, so they are different to just single table tournaments where they tend to double every 10 hands or every 12 minutes. Here they're going to go up, but they're not actually doubling, so there's a lot more play for the chips that people start with. They're starting with 1,500 chips, but they're getting a heck of a lot more play out of a multi-table tournament. Now, because there's 16 different tables here, as people are knocked off by losing their stack, if you can see El Pig there only has 300 chips, so he may be one of the next ones to go. Oh, except that he just won that hand, so he's not. But if he did go, there would be an empty spot there at the table. And as tables start to, well, disintegrate, as players start to be knocked off of them, they will cut down these tables that have holes in them, like Swiss cheese, and they will put them together into new tables so that there's always, hopefully, full tables everywhere.
Love the cheese reference.
Love the cheese reference. Thank you very much. I like, referring things back to food. I'm a bit hungry. Usually, generally.
So am I now.
Fancy a bit of cheese, really.
Fancy a kebab.
I want a donut myself, actually, if we're going to be really honest. So there you go.
Good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
See, I do listen when you guys talk.
No, it's good. It's good. So the aim of poker, folks, is what, Clara?
Well, the aim of poker is to maximize your rewards and minimize your risk. Make as much money as you possibly can. Or accumulate as many chips as you possibly can. And you can do that by either having the best hand.
Good.
Or by pushing someone off of a pot by making a bet that no one else wants to match.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
You sound surprised.
No, because normally I say, what's the aim of poker? And people say, to win money. And of course it isn't to win money.
No.
Because the person who wins the most money in the evening is very often not the person who has made the most money. Making money, not even maximising wins and minimising losses, although that's often the shorthand that we use, but it's maximising profits. In other words, it's maximising the difference between the two.
Right.
Now, sometimes you can use a loss minimising strategy, or sometimes you can use a win maximising strategy.
Okay.
If you can do both simultaneously, then that's fantastic, but not always possible.
Right. But good to try. What would you use as your strategy then for maximising and minimising?
Well, that's when we talk about different gears, isn't it? So for
Right.
me, at the beginning of a tournament, I'm trying to maximise wins. I'm always trying to get in cheap as well. We've been talking to Zitty Rs on the forums, and he's been saying that he can't quite get the loose in the early stages of the sit and go strategy to work, but it does absolutely categorically depend on getting in cheap and flopping to a big hand, or flopping to a hand where there is no resistance, in other words, no one else wants it, and taking it there. And as soon as someone calls you or raises you, just forgetting about it, because it's always important to remember what your original intention was. Was your original intention to steal, and if it was to steal and the steal doesn't work, let go of your pride and let go of the hand. That's very, very important. So we're not going to put any money in unless we feel that we are best, or we stand the best chance of making it. Now, that's true of all poker, to be honest with you. But in those early stages in the tournaments, because it costs so little in relation to the amount of money that we have and the amount of money that's actually going to win the tournament, we're only concerned about making serious sums of money at the end. So getting in very cheap and trying to extract big pots as a result of it.
Okay.
Sorry, I've gone off subject a little bit there, but in response to the tournament stuff that I've been reading.
Okay, well, this is something that I'm going to be looking at in my own game later today, because I also have a lot of trouble playing more loose and aggressive in the early stages, and I've had it drummed into my head.
Well, don't be so aggressive.
Okay.
Don't be so aggressive.
Right.
So not loose aggressive, more loose trappy.
Right, okay.
Actually, think of it like that, loose trap.
Right, and paying attention, obviously, to position. Very important.
Yes.
Don't play out of position in silly ways.
No.
Okay. This is something I'm thinking about for my game anyways, because I have a hard time with starting standards. I really like to play only good cards, but by the time you get good cards, you're going to be blinded out, is what I find.
As James says so often, the key to poker is just knowing where you are. One of the things that I found... Well, let's get back to the game.
Okay, let's take a look at the game. It's a $10 sit and go now we're going to. Let's take a look. And there it is.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've found is that since I stopped playing every day, it gave me a real sense of clarity and ability to think about the game more constructively. And I know where I am now much more effectively than when I used to play day in, day out, when the games just became a sort of mass of information and cards. And by knowing where you are, I don't say you can always call someone's hand, of course you don't, but of course you can't, but you can have a good sense of when you're ahead and when you're behind. And when you're ahead, you press it, and when you're behind, you slow down.
Okay. It reminds me of something we talked about on an earlier show. We're talking about what is it that makes a difference? What's the difference that makes a difference when you're on a winning streak, or when you're in that kind of zone where you feel like you can read your opponent's cards. You can tell what they're doing. You can read their style. What's that difference? That's something that I've been looking for myself.
Being centered.
You think so?
Yeah.
Bit of yoga?
Just been to Prague with a couple of people talking a lot about centeredness.
Really?
Yeah, he was, well, there were a number of people out there that were very interested from different perspectives, but one guy was what was it? A teacher of obviously something which was about being centered. He was a Chinese guy, and we were talking about the component parts of being centered and about being aware of your body and about being aware of where your energy is coming from at any particular time. Okay. And it's such an amazing thing. We played a lot of pool, and it's exactly the same thing in pool, which is my second favourite game after poker. You can do anything in pool and snooker when your energy's low. Yeah, but when it's up in your shoulders and your chest, you go to pieces. It's amazing that the two things are exactly the same, but then it's the same in any sport, actually. It's about stillness and action. Yeah, and
core strength as well.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do, like you're saying, that sort of that balance, that ability to be centered and balance core strength.
Talk to us about that. Tell us first your credentials for those who don't know.
Oh, it was a long time ago, but for those who don't know, it was I used to train and fight as a martial artist. I used to do Muay Thai, and so core strength was always incredibly important because we learned you don't kick from your legs, you kick from your core. So even when you're kicking with your legs, the actual power comes from the core and the center of you, and you won't get enough power, strength, rotation if you're just kicking with your legs.
Okay, so how do we kick from our core?
Well, I think you're right. It's about we were always taught it's about being aware of your balance, being centered, and being, my instructor used to say, being sat into your core. So you're very aware of your body, and I think your mental state as well. You know exactly where you are. You're very focused. Focus is the way to go. So, okay, so now how do I apply this to my game?
Well, I think it's exactly the same. It's bizarre. I mean, poker is a mental game, but it comes from the same physical properties, I think. This is my personal opinion, but it's my very strongly held personal opinion. I think that the counter view, which I completely respect, is that all of this is, poppycock, and then in actual fact it's just retrospective, and you only think about things retrospectively. But I do genuinely believe that there's something about the absence of trying, isn't there? You sound like Yoda now.
There is no try, only do. I do the voice, but
that's Jesus, not Yoda.
No, that's Yoda.
Yeah, I think he was quoting Jesus, though, when George Lucas wrote it.
Well, okay,
rather than the other way
still,
around.
I can't do the Jesus voice. I don't know what he sounded like, and I don't speak ancient Hebrew. Get us Mel Gibson, he could do it.
He probably did.
He probably did.
Have you seen that film?
No.
No, not me.
Couldn't be. Didn't have time, put it that way.
So anyway, folks, we're talking about being centred, and whilst it feels irrelevant to poker, it's not, I guarantee you. Those who saw yesterday the show will have seen me playing in the Beat the Presenters, and I came third twice in games that really should have closed down. I really, really should have closed down, and people were saying in the chat box, close it down, and it should have, but it was about that absence of calm, focus, determination, and desire. My frustration is that they're just words, and I need more practical exercises to do.
Okay. Yeah, I think it definitely reinforces it. Okay, I'll have a think.
Thanks.
Practical exercises.
I'll be over here. Composing yourself, centering yourself. Very much so, very much so.
You center yourself. I will talk us through the single table tournament.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, look at that. Okay, here we go. This is a $10 sit and go. It's a $10 tournament. So the buy-in is $10, obviously, as I've just said. And I believe there's a dollar rake as well that goes to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that the blinds are at 81.60, so we are in a different... We're not in the beginning levels here. We're about halfway through. Usually they start at 10 and 20, and they double every 10 hands, every 12 minutes, depending on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do start with 8 players again, as usual, and as it's different from a cash game, you only get a certain number of chips, and I believe they each started with... Actually, I was going to say they started with 1,500, but it looks like 1,000 there. You can see 1,000, yeah. So it's 1,000 chips that they've started with. Once their 1,000 chips are gone, they are gone. They're out of the tournament, no longer to return. They can watch from the sidelines and weep and cry and gnash their teeth, but they cannot play again. In a cash game, obviously, if your stack dwindles, you can go off, you can reload, bring some money back in. Now, there are some tournaments out there where there's a reload structure built into it, but this is not one of them. So once your chips are gone, they're gone. And a lot of people think that there's different ways that you should play at different times in a tournament. So if you're in an 8-person tournament, in the early stages, you're playing against 7 other opponents. You need to be a bit more careful, some people would say, about your starting standards, have better cards. By the time you're up against, say, 2 people, even heads up, your cards don't need to be as good. You can play with a lot less worthy cards because you're up against fewer people, and the odds are that they're not all going to be having fantastic cards either. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Okay. And you win exactly the same way as you win in a multi-table tournament. You either have the best 5-card hand, or you make a bet that no one else will or can match.
And in the spirit of beginner's night, let's go through those 5-card hands that you're trying to make.
Go for it, Cas.
So we're either trying to make the best 5-card hand, or we're trying to convince people that we have the best 5-card hand. That's really important. So we see there, poor old BWFC with his ace-king suited, good hand.
But
Chosen the hand where someone has aces to make his big move, and all the cards have chosen it. And very difficult for ace-king suited to beat aces.
unless you get an ace-king on the flop, you're pretty much done.
No, even then.
Oh no, because you'd still have 3 aces.
Of course.
Terrible.
Yeah, very difficult.
Ouch.
Need a couple of kings.
Need a couple of kings. There we go.
I went through a period in Vegas once where I kept on getting beaten. Aces kept on getting beaten by king queen. Now it's quite difficult to get aces beaten by king queen. Certainly a number of times in a row. I wonder if I would have abused the person had they been online.
What might you have said? Well, you're far too centered to do that, but not everyone out there is. Not everyone out there is.
Come on, folks, we're looking for your funniest examples of abuse. When have people abused you online? What have they said? When have you abused them? What has been the key message of your abuse, if you like? What have you been trying to say to them?
Yeah, is it funny? Because we want to hear it, especially if it's funny.
Yeah, definitely the funnies.
Give us a bit of a chuckle. I think there's probably lots out there. I don't know, some people do spend quite a bit of time online, watching poker, playing poker, doing other things, and there is sort of its own community with its own rules and its own etiquette. And I think you're right. Sometimes people will say things that they wouldn't necessarily say face-to-face.
Definitely.
I think as well, in a sort of a flirtatious or romantic manner, people do that as well. Which is kind of funny, considering you can't tell sometimes if people are male or female from their names.
We're talking about online dating here, Kara.
No, I'm still talking about poker.
Oh, really?
People can be quite cheeky online.
John Clark has a funny story about that.
Really? What, dating? Internet dating or online poker?
No, I can't tell you, actually. Sorry, you told me off there. Sorry, that's a terrible thing to do, isn't it?
That really is.
Yeah, it's like being at school and going, I've got a secret and I can't tell you.
Oh. Can you tell me in the break?
No, I won't do that, because then viewers will be perfectly justified in being...
So now we're all miffed.
Yeah, everyone's miffed. Good, we're all in it together.
Great. Great.
Sorry, folks, my fault.
Yeah. Now, someone told me that a good thing to do is to find an odds calculator online that you can download, stick it onto your desktop, and use it while you're playing poker.
Yes.
Did you say this is a good idea as well?
Yes, well, Mark Bannon gave me an odds calculator recently, which is a brilliant odds calculator.
Maybe it was Mark that told me this.
Yeah, and I recommend it very much, very definitely.
Okay. Someone will have to send it over to me.
And where can we find these odds calculators, Kara?
Well, I imagine if you go somewhere like Google and just type in...
Odds calculator.
I would think so, although I'm not having so much luck at the moment, but, you know, there we go.
Hoofy there for people who... oh, sorry, we're going to do the 5-card hand rankings, weren't we?
We were, in fact, you're right, absolutely. Built it all up and then didn't do it.
Yeah. Okay, so poker is always a 5-card hand game. In fact, it doesn't matter what variation of poker you're playing, whether it's 5-card stud or blah, blah, blah. It's always about 5 cards. So... way down the bottom, we have nothing to speak of, but just a high card. So if two people have got nothing, no formal configurations, but one's got an ace high and one's got a king high, then the ace high will take it.
Right.
Okay. Then going out from that, we've got a little pair. Pair of 6s beats a pair of 2s, and aces play high or low. So a pair of aces, or bullets as they're known, is a lovely, powerful hand to have, and that will beat all the other pairs. Then, higher than a pair, we have 2 pairs. In the event of 2 pair hands simultaneously, it's the higher 2 pair that wins. So I find what helps is instead of trying to think of it as, I don't know, aces and kings or queens and 2s or whatever, think of it as aces up.
Right.
Okay? So aces up, aces and 2s, beats kings up, kings and queens.
Okay.
Alrighty. What else do we have?
Well, after that, we would
3 of a kind.
have 3 of a kind.
3 of a kind, absolutely, of course.
Right. So a lot of people think if they see that they've got 2 pair...
Rivered. Yep.
If they've got 2 pair, that looks amazing,
yes.
even if they're 2 small pair. But you can easily be beaten. That's down at the bottom of the pyramid, really, when you're looking at hand rankings.
Yeah.
So you have to be a bit careful, don't
you? I mean, I always say that in 7-card stud, the way you play 2 pairs and 3 of a kind will define whether you make money or not.
Okay.
It's different in Hold'em because you can only have those hands when certain other people have other hands.
Right.
So there isn't, I mean, if I'm teaching complete beginners, I'll say, look, the way you play 2 pairs, straights and flushes, will define the way that you win money. But it's not really true, to be honest with you. The point, it's just an easy way into the game. The point about hands in Hold'em is it's the way that you play your hand in relation to the board. That's the point, because the best possible hand is always dictated by the board.
Because that's what makes Texas Hold'em different from a lot of the other variations, is that you share 70% of your cards, don't you?
Yeah. So where are we up to? 3 of a kind, which is better than 2 pairs. Okay. And obviously the bigger 3 of a kind wins. In the event of 2 3 of a kinds of exactly the same value, so if 2 people have got 3 6s, it then goes to the next high card, and exactly the same with 2 pairs. So if someone's got 3 6s, ace 5, that is beaten by 3 6s, ace 9. Okay. Okay. So the best 5-card hand always, not just the 3.
Yeah.
Right, now, higher than 3 of a kind, you've then got the 2 hands that need all 5 cards, all right? And they are straight is the next one, with 5 cards in running order, and flush with 5 cards all in the same suit.
Yes.
What's really, really, really important is to remember 2 things. The first thing is that a flush beats a straight, always has done, always will. And secondly, that those cards must be 5 big. All right, those hands must be 5 cards big. In other words, you can't have 4, 5, 6 and a pair of 10s. And someone, when you teach them poker, will always show that down. And I suggest you take your shoe off and hit them.
Ah, right.
That's the only way they'll learn.
It's true.
Yeah. So that's the straight and the flush. Bigger than the straight and the flush, you have the real powerhouse hand at this point now, the full house. Now, if you're just starting poker, again, as a rule of thumb, you'd be unlucky to lose with a full house. Of course you can do.
Oh, we've just lost Balrog as well. Sorry, just to point out that there.
Poor old Balrog. Sorry, Steve, we're...
just down to the bubble.
Going through the rudiments of poker here while you're fighting it out. Look at that, Hoofy's doing well, good. Hoofy's made the money, fantastic.
Really well.
We like to see that. Been on a bad run recently.
Well, goodbye to Balrog. That is quite sad. He's been very helpful to me and very nice to me while I'm doing the Beat the Presenter slot, with the, you know, kind of G'ing me up a bit.
Nice. Well, thank you, Steve, for that.
I appreciate it.
So do I.
Anyways, you were saying the full house, obviously. That is a powerhouse of a
powerhouse hand, 3 of a kind, and a pair. So, and the bigger 3 of a kind wins.
Right.
So, in other words, 3 aces and 2 2s beats 3 kings and 2 queens.
Right.
Okay. And then bigger than full house is the 4 of a kind, pretty self-explanatory. Bigger than the 4 of the kind is the straight flush. And one thing that I'll never understand is why people then identify the royal flush as a hand in its own right. It's just a big straight flush. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's just
a
the biggest
straight
one.
flush, yeah. So straight flush is the highest hand, not royal flush. It's just a big straight flush. And straight flush, sorry, just to flesh that out, is 5 cards in running order and all of the same suit. Very difficult.
Yeah. Well, we're heads up there at our tournament, and once we see the final of that, we're going to come back and do a few emails.
Jolly good.
Jolly, jolly good.
Do we have any emails about abuse in the chat box yet?
We have a little bit, yeah.
Good.
We do indeed, yes. Now that I'm going through them, that sounds like fun.
Fantastic, good.
Thank you very much for heeding the call, people. It's not often that we actually are asking for abuse, really. So thanks for helping us out.
So let's enjoy this abuse opportunity.
Yes. It's a bit mean-spirited in some ways, but you know what? If you can't laugh at it, then it's not the right game for you, I suppose.
So, I've been wittering tonight, but that's good because I've been wittering about beginners stuff, and we always get a load of abuse for not talking about beginners stuff on beginner nights, but we have done tonight, by crikey.
Yeah, I've done my bit of wittering as well.
Hoofy wins!
Go on with a pair of kings. Very
with
nice.
his flush.
King Kong.
Hoofy wins with a flush.
Very nice.
Hoorah for Hoofy.
That's right. They both had a flush. Hoofy had the better flush.
Much better flush.
That's exactly what you were saying.
Is it?
Pretty much. You know, the best flush with the highest card, la-di-da-di-da.
Oh, no, I didn't really say that. No,
Did you not?
No, I didn't say that. So,
I wasn't
in the event
listening,
of two
apparently.
straights, the higher straight wins. In other
Right.
words, 7, 8, 9, 10 jack beats 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in the event of two flushes, the higher card wins. So if someone has an ace, king, 4 flush, that is going to be beaten by an ace, king, 8 flush.
Yes.
So it goes down. As soon as you find a discrepancy between the two hands, the higher card of the two will win.
There you go.
Thank you.
There we go. Now, we've got some emails here, so let's dive straight into that.
Excellent.
This is from Peter. Hi, Peter. How you doing? Says, hi, all. Great TV channel. Well, thank you. The entire thing is not, down to us, but we thank you nonetheless. It says, I wonder if you could help. I've just started playing online under the name of Toenails. Nice, nice. Given to me by my mates at work. I don't really know. I do actually want to know why they've said this. Is it because you cut them at your desk? Because that's kind of gross. No, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Well, the first question is this. I feel that when playing at home or around a mate's house, it's easier to get the all-important tells. Will I ever get a similar read online after some amount of time, or is this a different style that I'm going to just have to adapt to? I've only been playing online for 2 days. The only way I can play to a reasonable standard online is to play very tight and wait for the real value hands, but sometimes I feel that I've not gained the amount of chips required for the later stages of the game and end up being bullied. Darn them, he says. How many hands on average should I be playing? I think I'm playing around 1 in 10 at the beginning. And have you got any other advice for me, such as should I be playing with small groups or larger ones? Cheers for that. And that is from Peter. So there we go. A new to online poker.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would say that, first of all, play with larger groups because larger groups mean that your play becomes more by rote, more standardised, more mathematical, more about betting patterns and less by gut feel. Sorry, not betting patterns, more about the average betting pattern rather than individual players' betting patterns. When you get to smaller groups, that's what you have to start using. Internet play, you're absolutely right. It's very hard to talk about tells. People do write at length about the time it takes people to make bets and things like that. But I would discount a lot of that information. I think it's very misleading. I think people are just looking for stuff where stuff doesn't exist to try and look smart. So for me, when you're playing online, what you're looking for is general betting patterns. If you can isolate a specific player doing a certain thing, then that's great. But it does come down much more to the generalities of situations. So it's about having a good standardised play and then adjusting that for each individual player. And the more you can adjust that for each individual player, the better player you become and the more that you know where you are in any given hand. But internet actually, I think, is a very good a very good way of becoming a good solid player. So I'm all for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
There we go. Now that was very, very nicely put, by the
Thank
way.
you.
You're welcome. Right, now we have another one here. This one is from Damien, also known as Crash Flux. He tells us both his question and gives us a little story, as you were asking for there, Cass.
Fantastic.
Right, he says, "Hi, Karen and Cass. I have been playing online for a little over 4 months now, and I'm a profitable player. However, my biggest sticking point at the moment is how to go about betting on the turn when I've made part of a hand on a flop, maybe top pair or even two pair, and suspect that I might be behind. Usually, I've raised pre-flop and then made a continuation bet and get a caller or two, and then the turn comes without improving my hand. My natural reaction is to check. I'm looking at being in early mid position here, by the way, which shows weakness. If someone bets behind me, I usually end up folding, even though there is some chance I may be ahead at this stage. I'm sure it's costing me money by laying down the best hand too often, and therefore ask you if you have any advice on how to strengthen my game at the turn when I'm clearly not in front, nor clearly way behind." And before we get to the question, he also gives us a bit of a story. He says, "A guy I played against the other night raised me all in on a flop of Jack King 5. I called with Ace King and caught an ace on the river to make a better two pair. I got a load of abuse from this guy and replied that he shouldn't be playing Jack 5 cash game in the first place. His reply, but it was suited and I was on the button." I had to sit out a few hands to stop myself from laughing. It says, "Keep up the good work. Cass, I value your insight more than any Poker Night Live presenter as you talk on a deep level that I understand and has improved my game to no end. And I'm not laughing because of what you wrote. Well, I am, but not because you wrote it. I just think that's quite sweet, really." And he also says that I'm lovely, so I really, we like him. You can email again.
I'm really worried now because I don't know how to answer this. Because I agree with you, the turn it's so important to get that move right. So you raise before the flop because you think you're best. You bet out on the flop and you get a caller, and you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, what do I do now? Where am I? I think it's the quintessential example of what I talk about knowing where you are. So there's probably a quick answer and a complex answer. The quick answer is, what's the quick answer?
Sometimes there is no
Let's
quick
try the
answer.
complex answer and see if we can distill it back to the quick answer. The complex answer is you've got to trust your instinct. And I'm going to tell you what your instinct is, or the way that you can define your instinct in a way. Your instinct, as I said here on the show before, for every 16 sensory inputs that you process consciously, you process 11 million subconsciously. And those 11 million inputs go into what we call your subconscious or your instinct. The point is that it is demonstrable, it's provable. If you go home tonight and you have Darren Brown in your front room, he'd be able to hypnotise you and be able to extract from you the number plates of all the cards that you've seen that day. Because your instinct logs everything. It's all there, the product of all your experiences in your life. So there is a little voice inside your mind which tells you what to do because it's logged all the different play of all those people. It's very, very difficult to crank up the voice, the volume on that little voice, and it's even more difficult to act on it. But it is there and you do need to do it. So on the turn, you need to follow what we call your judgment. And the reason why people become better at poker after a period of time is because their instinct has access to more information. That's what experience is. Consciously what you're doing is you're pigeonholing people more effectively by categorizing players having not studied, but having recognized certain patterns. The brain is a pattern recognizing organ. That's why you see a little face in the moon, because the first thing that you see as a child is human faces staring down into your cot, and therefore the face as a pattern becomes incredibly recognizable. And when you're playing poker, what happens is certain patterns become very recognizable. You'll notice after about 3-4 months of play that you know when someone's got ace king because you know they raised before the flop, and you know that when you check out and the flop comes down without an ace, or a flop comes down very low, they'll check behind you. You know in your heart of hearts they've got ace king or ace queen at that point because it's a pattern that you've recognized. So where does all this leave us with the turn? I say that if the flop looks dangerous, so for example, if the flop is 3 suited, if the flop has a pair on it, if the flop has an ace, and that's very significant, the ace, and you've bet out and someone's called you, that's the kind of time when you need to slow down. If the flop doesn't look dangerous, and particularly if the flop contains draw possibilities, 2 connectors in the tens and paints department, 2 cards of the same suit, and you bet out and someone call, they could still have trips, they could still have a monster hand, they could still have you beaten bang to rights, they could still have 2 pairs, although people would tend to raise you with 2 pairs. But in that situation, that's when I would continue to bet on the turn. Because in that situation, that's when you can say, not always, but sometimes this player, or often enough, this player is going to have called me without a hand that beats me, but with a draw or with an inferior hand. So it's about thinking, as I said earlier tonight on the show, about what you have in relation to the texture of the flop, that person's betting patterns, and putting those 2 things together and using your instinct. Does that make sense?
I think it does.
Long answer, but it's a big old question, so...
Yeah, fair enough. It is a very big old question. So the short answer would be trust your instincts.
Short answer is raise.
That's always a good one. We'll go with that. All right, another one here. This is from one of our American viewers. This is from Stamper in LA, and I'm sure that means Los Angeles, not Little Hampton. But you never know, I suppose. He says, great show as always. Howard Lederer was quoted as saying that you can't get to the final table without skill. But he was referring to the World Series of Poker. Isn't any tournament more about luck than ability? And I know this is something that a lot of you commentator guys, disagree about. Luck and ability. What is it? Where's the difference there?
Yeah, I mean, I had a disagreement with Mark, who talked about tournaments being luck, and we finally agreed on what I think is a sort of calibrated underlying truth of all this, which is that the whole essence of the word luck relates to how long a duration the medium term is, because the medium term is defined. It's not opinion. The medium term is, the whole point of the medium term is it's defined as the point at which luck becomes irrelevant. So you can, there are a number of different terms, by the way. You know, the medium term is 100,000 hands. I don't know exactly what standard deviation that reduces it to, whether it's 1% or something. You'll have to ask a statistician for that. But if it's 1 million hands, it becomes reduced even further. If it's 10 million hands, it becomes reduced even further. So at that point, what we're saying is that the differential between the luckiest person, the person who has had the best cards over 1 million hands, and the person who has the worst cards over 1 million hands is less than 0.1%, or whatever it is, right? That's precisely what that term means. So it is, by definition, the eradication of luck. So, sorry, Kara, can you bring the
Certainly, yeah.
Is any individual tournament luck? Yes, of course, because it's only a fraction of 100,000 hands. The whole point of this is that in a cash game, after 100,000 hands, of play incidentally at one single cash limit, you would therefore know that the person who'd made the most money over that period, or over 1 million hands, had done so by playing the best, because he has, by definition, received cards which are fractionally better or worse than his opponents. When Howard Lederer said you can't get to the final table with skill, I mean, that is a massive decontextualization of what he was saying. Howard Lederer's point is, you know, you can be the best player in the world and you don't stand any guarantee of getting to the final table of a 5,600 person tourney. That's absolutely true. Is any tourney more about luck than ability? Possibly, yes, is the answer to that. Possibly, over the course of, what, 1,000 hands? 500 hands that any tourney has played over, and longer tourneys more, and that's great. The luck factor compared to the skill factor is high, and Mark and I both agree that the median term for tournaments, such as their structure, that a tournament can come down to about 6 key hands, the median term for tournaments is about 2 years. In other words, you've got to have a bankroll to be able to sustain those swings for 2 years, and if you don't, then you're not playing poker correctly, because bankroll is just as important as knowing how to play ace-king. But the whole point, Stamper, is that if you play tournaments for 2 years, or you play online concentrated period of about 6 months, and you play 1,000, 2,000 tournaments, once again, the luck element of that short term has become evened out. And that even though each one comes down to about 6 key hands, you've played 66,000 key hands, and no one has an edge over each other just by virtue of the cards. You have that edge by virtue of being the better player. So Howard Lederer is right in terms of that context, but Howard Lederer would concede that any poker tournament played over 1 million hands would therefore come down to skill.
There we go. Now we are going to be coming back after the break with more poker, and I'm going to be playing in the Beat the Presenter slot, so you're not going to want to miss that. So come back, because we will be back here very soon. Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's beginner's night or amateur night here on Poker Zone. So we will be taking you through a Beat the Presenter slot with me, the beginner, playing against some of you, our viewers. So that should be interesting to watch. It'll be showing it the next hour and commentating on it. So make sure you stay tuned for that, because seriously, all the fun and all the laughs. Yep, there you go.
Why am I doing all this? You're supposed to be playing a game.
Well, I haven't gotten into it yet.
Well, why am I? No, that's my job, isn't it?
It kind of is, yeah.
Well, you know.
So you go for it then.
Well,
do you want to read some emails?
How would you feel? Yes, yes, I do.
Okay. Yes. You go for it.
Email here from Will Tomcat, which I don't understand. He says, "Hi, Kara and Cass, great show. Can you say a big hello to all members of the Cat Pack who are whipping the musket hounds on Poker Zone? Thanks a lot, Will Tomcat Meow."
I know, it's something to do with the forum.
A lot of that wasn't even English.
Yeah, I know. There is something to do with the forum, and I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. People were making references to this as well the last time I was doing the Beat Presenter slot.
Go outside. Go and pull women. Email from Andy078. "Hi guys, I wouldn't say this is a beginner's question." Well, it's the wrong night then. So, different email. No. But I'd really appreciate your comments on it. Earlier today I had middle pair on the flop. 3 people only were in the hand. 3 people only with middle pair on the flop? I'd say that's enough. And I had the dealer button. I don't care what you've got, mate. You've got middle pair with 3 people. Players all checked around to me, so I put in 3 times the big blind bet just to see where I was on the table, as I should. I was called on the flop, which made me suspicious. Do you know what, Andy? I don't think you should. Seriously. I think you got knout. And I know you've got position, but how many times do the 3 people fold? Oh, you got 3 people only. Okay, so you only got 2 opponents. All right. Even so, if I'm going to do that, I'll put in a pretty sizable bet to try and take it there and then, because if you give anyone a call, then they're going to call. I checked on the turn with this in mind, still with middle pair, no more overcards on the turn, and he put a pricey bet in which pushed me off the hand. Should I have carried on betting on the turn with middle pair, so I didn't show weakness, even though he called my original bet? Or was I right to check and then lay it down? Okay, well, listen, this comes back to the email we had earlier. You're absolutely 110% right to lay it down. You've got to know in poker that it's fine to show weakness, or rather that folding is not weakness. Let's put it like that. There is no argument ever, no way. The biggest, strongest argument I could put is for not betting out there on the flop in the first place. And I'm an aggressive player, but you've got to know that you're up against 2 players and the flop holds nothing and that they'll lay it down. And I would only do that with 1 opponent, to be honest with you. Worst abuse I've received with pocket aces. The guy that dished out this abuse had pocket kings. Oh, fair enough. And we're both all in. Neither of us hit our trips, and I won with top pair. With this, he said, "Lucky," and said he, this is brilliant, and said he hoped I caught bird flu. Everyone expressed their LOLs around the table, and I ended up winning the tourney. Great show, guys. Keep it up. Thanks very much indeed, Andy. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Seriously, you've done the right thing. And, you know, it was an interesting night last night, wasn't it? An interesting night from all sorts of perspectives. Alfred Hitchcock, when he used to direct films, I don't know if you know this, Karen, he used to talk about the walking to the car concept.
Right.
He always wanted to give his audience something to talk about on the walk to the car. If you wrapped everything up neatly, then no one had anything to talk about on the walk to the car. And I think we should start introducing that in poker, the walk to the car thoughts. And last night, if you watched me on the Beat the Presenter, you'll have seen a number of occasions I had walk to the car thoughts. I still think to this day that I did something, a couple of things really, really badly. And Mark was very supportive, said, no, you did the right thing, so that was nice. But they were my walk to the car thoughts. And a lot of the time here on Poker Night Live, we'll get emails with people's walk to the car thoughts. And you know what? I think most of the time, you did it right, you're beating yourself up with the thoughts, but actually your actions were spot on. Let's have another email. Email from Andy, which I can't answer, but we'll read it anyway because he's taken the time to read it, to write it, and the least we can do is read it out. Email from Andy. "Dear guys, I'd like to say thank you for Caspar's help last night on exploring players' weaknesses. That's a pleasure. I hope it helped, if only a bit. However, I think that commentators get the impression that home games are no better than riots. You're right, you say home game, we think riot. It's true, and we're wrong to do so, and I will confess to that. I'll come clean. Whilst in my home game we don't play the big stakes, there is pride at stake, absolutely. A lot of us play online and take a lot of care in our play. You're right, and I'm sorry. I'm going to die. On the subject of online abuse, I play a lot of sit and goes. At the start I say good luck to everyone because players who like me are far easier to manoeuvre. That is absolutely true. Players who don't like me will be aggressive in the chat box and in the game. Remember what Devilfish, when he was on here, folks, he said, what do you do heads up? You keep them sweet. As soon as they think you're bullying them, they'll bully you back. Absolutely right. They will go out their way to re-raise me and be very difficult to play against, whereas if I have a friendly image, the players are a lot more passive. So true. I have a question which I really need help with. Can't answer this. At our home games, I normally organise the blind structure and chip amounts and have developed a good system for 6 to 8 player freeze-outs, which last around 2 hours. I want to organise a rebuy tournament for 10 players that lasts for around 6 hours, stopping rebuys after the first hour with and a half, with 1 add-on at this point. I have a simple blind structure in mind, but obviously I don't know how many rebuys will happen, so I could get the blinds too small or too big depending on the variable number of chips in play. Any help much appreciated. Not a clue, but what I will say is have a stab at one thing. You've obviously got some good ideas based on the results you've got at the moment, and just understand this: the greatest tournament directors in the world can't make something like that last exactly 6 hours. You're dealing still with a chaotic environment. You will have seen in the sit and go I played last night, we were down to 3 players by level 3. You know, whereas most of the comments about these sit and goes is that we still got 8 players left by level 6. So, you know, it's random, it is chaotic, and if it lasts 3 hours or 8 hours, don't beat yourself up. Just adjust it a little bit for next time. So there we go, Andy. I hope that helped. Not very much, but a bit. Okay. Let's get to a game of some description whilst Kara plays her single table tournament, and we will see how she does later.
Cool.
You all right?
I'm all right.
Don't, that's a tell.
Oh,
don't,
okay.
don't.
I'm not even in this hand.
Well, they can see you.
I'm not even in this hand.
It's still a tell.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
they're giving away your state of mind.
Oh, all right. I always smile.
There are 34 runners left in this, folks. Do you know there are 5 tables and we're on the big stack table? So that's Rev. Actually, no, it's not. It's HDI. What's his name? Heidi. Do you remember Heidi?
I do, with the pigtails,
Yeah.
the braids. Yep.
Do you know it was dubbed? That was rubbish, wasn't it? Last night, we were watching on ITV4 Monkey Magic.
Yes.
Some ITV4 executive is about 32 to 34, right? Watched Monkey in 1978, 1979, 1980 on the telly, and has basically gone to himself, that'll be good, that, because we'll get all the kids, plus all the 30-year-olds. And you know what, he's right.
Yeah.
But it does mean that ITV4, at prime time on a Friday night, has dubbed Chinese programmes on it.
Okay.
I mean, I love Monkey, don't get me wrong, I won't say a word against it, but it's rubbish.
Well, in its time, and for what it is, you know.
It's like a little Seven Samurai every night.
We didn't get that in Canada. At least I didn't.
Just Heidi. Did you get, not Heidi, but the programme with the duck? Did you get a programme with a duck that was dubbed? We've got a lot of Scandinavian kids programmes.
No, we had, well,
In the
Mr. Ed.
1980s.
That was the only kind of talking animal I can think of. And Littlest
Not the
Hobo.
only talking animal. What about Big Bird?
Well, not an animal, it's a bird.
Oh, let's not get into this again.
Okay.
Bird is a frickin' animal.
No, it's
So are
seriously
fish.
not.
Fish are animals. What is it? It's not a plant, is it?
It's a living organism, yes.
Do you want us to Google it again? Because I think we did it on a night
okay,
when you
okay.
weren't
It's
here.
in
and
the
honestly,
animal kingdom.
We've actually
all
done
right.
this argument.
It's
It
an
is-
avian.
It's an animal. Trust me. We'll do it now. Viewers, Wikipedia time. No, I don't want PokemonLive.com, I want Wikipedia. That's fine. Sorry folks, I was getting a cup of tea. Let's have a look at the game.
It's very important. It's
It is.
the British tradition of tea.
Well, herbal. It's not very British really, is it?
Wow, you're letting the side down, aren't
More
you?
continental.
Get you.
Ace-9 versus Ace-7. My money's on the Ace-9. It's a shame they won't let a little bit of side betting going on here on Pokemon Live. Ooh, I like it now. Now, the key thing at this point in time is that I'm glad to see Heidi put it down because we've both got a lot of money in relation to the stacks. Oh, it's Black Horse, look. Shows what I know. Can't even look at a table full of money and say who's the highest stack. a lot of money in relation to the blinds, and it's very important to remember that there's so much play left, so really don't go mad at a stage in the game where you don't need to. Animals, I'm putting animal in. Got his straight, has black horse, and now he's looking for his flush. All tremendously exciting for him. Suddenly lost the nuts. Ironic, now he doesn't know what Go Sapper has, but do you want to make that bet, black horse? Sorry, I wasn't looking at the betting throughout the course of the hand because I was Googling animals, but...
It just sounds wrong.
But I wonder whether that bet on the river was correct. You can hear tapping in the background. That's Kara talking to the other players on the... What are we on? What level table? $20? $10?
I wish. I can only get onto the $2 table.
$2 table.
It's the only game open. See, that's my excuse.
On Spin Palace. If you want to have a little watch of her playing, do go and join her there. Say hello to her from me. Wish her luck. Poor old Ace Queen, outdrawn by the Ace Jack. Horrible feeling. I wonder if Rev will be putting any abuse in the chat box. Meanwhile, Black Horse is still our chip leader. I'm going to call him Lloyds.
Oh, you're a bit of you got some fans here in the chat box of my tournament. They're all...
What are they saying?
Well, they're saying hello, and they're asking if you were a bit off colour yesterday, and you seem more on form today.
Yeah.
So there you go. See,
That's
they
all
do
true.
pay attention.
Well,
How sweet is that?
I was sick before the show yesterday. It was horrible.
Really?
Yeah, vomit everywhere.
Vomit everywhere.
Rubisco Kid has the Cowboys now. In the small blind, a lovely place to have them. Certainly if Pagan walks into his trap. He has done. He's pushed all in. Actually, probably may have done him out of a bit of money here. Let's see what Rev does. No, it's all worked out. Rubisco Kid can push there. Take out Go Sapper. Oh, he's just decided to call. Okay, he's hit his king. Be good to take out Go Sapper there because you don't want a rogue ace calling against you and suddenly reducing your chances of winning to 30%. So nice to just push there. And now we're looking quite empty on this table. We're just down to 6. And we were 5 tables. I assume we still are. 4 tables now. 26 runners left. It's all happening. How are you doing, Kara?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
Good, excellent. Let's check out another table, shall we? A sponge is an animal, Kara. Just an undifferentiated animal. Do you really think that a sponge is an animal but Big Bird isn't?
Well, Big Bird's not even real. If you won't tell me that Neo's real, then no.
Which do you think most looks like an animal? A bird or a sponge? Yep, that's right. It's a bird. That's right, we had a big argument about insects last time. And it says here, in everyday usage, animal refers to any member of the animal kingdom who is not a human being and sometimes excludes insects. The use of the word animal in law typically reflects the common pre-scientific use of the word, roughly equivalent to what modern biology would classify as a non-human mammal. For example, wildlife laws commonly use phrases such as animals, birds and fish. But that's wrong.
Obviously.
Ace King hits his ace, takes it down. Button moves. And one of the things about this stage of a multi-table tournament is that the poker tends to be very, very standard. Very little, I think, that's sort of good to get under the skin of. And that's largely because there's a lot of play in relation to the blinds, and therefore players don't have to make too many judgment calls. Cowboys again. important not to take too many risks at this stage and jeopardise your situation whilst you're still looking pretty. Although a couple of players here now up against it. Feckless, living up to his name. And Magikrat, I'm going to call him. And there we are. Jamati doubles through, but not quite, with the kings. Excuse me. Now we see some hooks there to the left of Stevie Balrog, who makes up the small blind. Someone said bless you in the chat box.
Yeah, it's quite sweet. They wondered if you had just coughed up a hairball.
You know what, I think this is the most interactive show on television.
I think it must be.
That's a nice bet there from Freebooter. I like that bet. He's saying, come on then, do you have an ace? And Delboy has to say no, I don't have an ace. Good poker. So both parties miss the flop, and once again Freebooter bets out, and once again he uses counter position on Delboy, and once again he takes it down, and I like that. But crucially, folks, he's doing it in a situation where he's just got one opponent, and that becomes very different when you've got two opponents. Are they talking to you about these cats?
Yeah, they're trying to decide whether you're a cat or a dog, and then someone said, no, Caspar's a ghost. You're the friendly ghost. It's all getting a bit random here. It's quite funny, though.
Wow, we're all missing the flop en masse here. And Freebooter again, who's been our aggressive player. Is he going to pick up this pot of 1,350? It's no small amount. No, he decides not to on this occasion. That's interesting. Maybe he feels that being on the telly, he's being a bit exposed as a thief. Of course, that's one of the interesting ramifications of Poker Night Live, is that your play can be exposed from time to time. But Magikrat doesn't have a call really here, unless he tries something very clever and uses that second jack. But difficult to do that, as Mark and I discussed last night. Bluffs really need a kind of narrative to fit into. They need to make sense in the context of your play on previous streets. And why would you suddenly raise when the second jack came down without betting out with the first jack? So it would have been very difficult to believe you. Balrog now pausing with his 2-3 suited, not doing anything with it. Are they all still being nice? Was it some rude people raising their ugly heads?
Well, they're being nice. Some of them are being rude, but in generally nice ways. If that's
rude in nice ways. Are they not? Are they not giving us examples of abuse? I mean, that's what we really need, isn't it? That's the perfect opportunity for them to do so.
Well, they really are giving me lots of examples of abuse, but none of them I don't think I really could read out, I'm afraid.
That's a shame.
But they do wonder if you need a doctor. They're worried about you and you're sneezing.
Because I'm sounding like the guy from the Fast Show. What's his name? Bob. Eight's raised it up. Now there's that small blind raise, folks. Now let's have a conversation here about the small blind raise. I don't like it because I think it makes you vulnerable. And I think anything in poker that makes you vulnerable is bad. And I'll tell you why. Because people raise from the small blind as if they're raising from the button. And that doesn't make sense to me because you're not on the button, or you're not in the cutoff, and you're not to the right of the cutoff, because you don't have position on the guy who's about to raise you. In fact, you don't have position on him on any street at all, which is, you know, a really, really, really bad situation to be in. So last night I thought, oh, you know, a couple of people giving me grief for not raising from small blind. So today I've been raising from small blind, and again, I've just been beaten up And these are by people who don't know me at all. They don't know it's Caspar playing. I keep my nickname a secret.
Ah, yes.
And I just hate it. I mean, maybe it's some sort of vibes I give out into the ether, but I just don't feel right or good doing it at all. So that's why I don't do it. I don't believe that it's something to do with my timing or my betting amount or anything like that that screams, come on, take advantage of me. I just think you're in such a weak position trying to take a strong position. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Let's have an email from Making Jam, who says, hello, Cass and Kara. He says, feel I need to explain my play in the $50 sit and go last night, or specifically the call of Caspar's all-in with 6-4. I do remember that, I think, yes. I didn't think it was terrible. I think it did surprise me, but you don't need to explain it. Pot was 2,700, and it would cost me 1,020 to call, so close to 3-to-1 pot odds. Makes a lot of hands playable, perhaps not 6-4. Caspar was under the gun with 1,700 in chips, and big blind is 640 next hand, so had to move, yes. So I figured I was playing against a random hand. I'd love to know how bad the hand would have been for you to fold, Cass. Not a clue. On the bubble, the extra equity gained by knocking out an opponent. Okay, so they're the three reasons. Number one, the pot odds. Number two, me under the gun. And number three, the extra equity gained. I know the fact that Cass had Jack-Jack made my call look really bad. You're absolutely right, mate. You can't play by results, and I got a fair bit of stick about my play. But 5 hands later, Cass was taken out by 10-5. You probably will disagree with my play, but at least I had reasons. By the way, Cass, you were commentating last night about your table image at the table. We've watched you for 6 months. You brought your image to the table. It's too late to change it when you get there now. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't think I've tried to change my table image really. In fact, that's precisely my point, was that you can't change your image. What you can change is the interactions that you have with certain players. And I will say, on that subject, Making Jam, that players have changed the way that they react to me in the last couple of sit-and-goes, because when they first started, I was getting an awful lot of respect, and I didn't get any of that respect last night, which is fine. That's absolutely fair enough. No reason why I should. But for me, the reason why I've got that is much less about image, which is a long-term thing about, you know, your frequency of play and certain betting patterns, and much more about individual instances, which is precisely my point. So yeah, listen, I think you've explained it well there. As Mark said last night, you know, it's not so much about making mistakes. It's about, as long as you can explain and justify it, and as long as you can actually be prepared to talk about it with your peers and say, toss those subjects around and say, is that the best thing to do? You had, I can't remember what you had in your stack. I think that was my biggest argument against it, actually, was what you had in your stack. And the old argument that in tournaments, what you're really trying to do is save your chips for the periods or the situations in which you have the highest possible expectation. And by possible, what I mean is that if you're very low stacked and the blinds are coming around, then it's, you know, it may be the case that that is going to be your highest possible expectation, or your highest likely expectation within the duration of the game according to the blinds. So that would be my argument for not Making Jam. But listen, you know, it's a game. Poker's a game of opinions, and I certainly respect yours. So good stuff. Let's go to a cash game, or let's not. Who knows? Oh, there's some contact details. Text poker in your questions to 84222. 84222. It's all changed, and you must text poker. You must text poker, or your vote will be registered on American Idol, which is brilliant. Poker at Poker Night Live is still the same. Poker at pokernightlive.co.uk, and my money's on Kelly, because she's blonde and beautiful, and if you listen to the lyrics of country music, they're better than you might think. So this is a 50-cent $1 game. Look at that, $215 in the pot. Poor old Smooth Cut. He's just been outdrawn on the Ruddy River by cat attack. What's all these attacks of cats?
I know, it's everywhere.
Are they asking what the bang in the studio
Yeah,
was?
they were. I was just telling them with some of your chips.
Second lot of chips I've knocked off the table tonight. If we come back in vision, you'll see that my pile has gone down somewhat. So, cat attack, sitting very pretty. Very nice if you're a cat. Robo Squirrel. Where do they get their names from?
Oh, they make me chuckle.
6, 7, 8, 9 on a 3-suited board, and his check allows a guy with nothing, literally nothing, to bet out and take it. And people tell me it's good to bet from the small blind. Absolute poppycock. And that, folks, is using an anecdote to prove a generality, which we don't recommend here on Poker Night Live, but can be a lot of fun when used correctly. Cat Attack, wondering what to do with his 9-5. Having a bit of a multi-table, I'll wager. He's playing on the 25 cent, 50 cent. Naughty boy, maximising his hourly rate. But just inconveniencing everyone else in the process. So, is that morally good? How are you doing, Kira?
Good, thanks.
Yes?
Uh-huh. Still in.
Good. Giving nothing away. Poker faced.
That's right. Poker voiced.
What I would do is I would tell them that you're feeling so confident tonight you're going to turn off our little piece of software that allows us to see their cards. Go on.
Well, they've all heard you just say it, I'm sure.
Let's play it properly tonight.
Yeah. You don't normally.
Do you really think I make the money every time without that?
And I only just barely not make the money, just to make everyone feel better.
Well, that's right, that's right.
Uh-huh.
But we're raising money for kids in hospital, so...
So if they are beating me and stealing my blinds, they should feel pretty ashamed of themselves.
I think anyone who takes money from us and Beat the Presenter should donate it to Great Ormond Street, like Alan Sugar.
Yes.
Do not underestimate me. It's quite tricky, isn't it? You're a frickin' idiot. He's not, of course. He's a very bright man. He's made a lot of money. But he does come across as quite weird sometimes, doesn't he?
I haven't watched much of that, but I hear it's a phenomenon.
I just remember me sitting in the boardroom going, actually, Alan, I don't want to work for you because you don't let anyone answer a question. And it started off as a bit of fun, and it's now just become annoying and self-parodic. Golf Mad Chef, there he is, sharing with us both his hobbies and his profession in an almost solipsistic fashion.
Get you using your big words again.
Solipsism is a school of philosophy that says that you are the only person that exists and everyone else is a figment of your imagination. And for that reason, it's a brilliant put down. There you have Ace-Queen calling Ace-King. That's my point. That's the old what do you do with Ace-Queen calling. There's something about calling with Ace-Queen that I just don't like. For exactly the same reason that Doyle doesn't like it. If you call with Ace-Jack, you know you're going to release it. But with Ace-Queen, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to bet? So, Smooth Cut makes a nice little raise there, which is cool, and all of a sudden he doesn't know where he is, because really, in theory, the Ace-King should have been put down there. And Smooth Cut continues to bet it, and that's something I would never do. He's right on this occasion, which is fantastic, but how does he know he's right? I don't know, I can't answer you that, folks. We need Smooth Cut to sit in this chair, because that was either genius or an error. So very interesting. Bloof Boy calling with the Ace-Jack in first position. And I have to tell you something, folks. One of the ways in which I think Poker Night Live has really improved my game is being so much more disciplined about throwing away the Ace-Jacks, the King-Jacks, the pair of sixes in first position. Something I never used to do enough, and that's how it's benefited me.
Uh-huh.
How's it benefited you, Kara?
Exactly what?
I'm getting you back on the table.
I'm afraid I wasn't
after the
actually...
fighting.
Oh. I still have no idea what you're talking about. I'm really sorry. I was actually just sorting something out with my game.
Oh, really?
I was doing the but I wasn't actually listening.
Not actually listening?
Sorry.
Do you know what you're missing?
I know.
It's gold.
Absolute poker gold. It's TV gold.
It's not TV gold. It's
Is it not?
What if you compare it to someone like Jonathan Ross or something like that?
Well, anyone compared to Jonathan Ross.
That's very true. He is.
He's very good.
He's not Sir Alan. Blues Boy bets out Jack 7. With his flush draw. Cat attack in the lead. Is he going to use all his reading skills again to extract maximum value? I say flush draw, I mean at the end of the day, Blues Boy has 2 pairs on the board. So if anyone's got a 4 or 2, then it's irrelevant when he makes his flush. Although he's kind of figuring on the fact that it's very unlikely that someone does have a 4 or 2. And this is something we don't talk about enough here on Poker Night Live, so let's talk about it now. And that is the sorry, is my talking interrupting your typing?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I do that all the time. And that is the actual numbers on the board in a game of poker. We talk about the texture of the flop in terms of, is there a flush draw on board, is there a straight draw on board? But the numbers on board is absolutely critical. It's very, very different there being a pair of 10s on board or a pair of jacks on board to there being a pair of 4s on board or a pair of 3s on board. Why is that? Because players are much more likely to play 10s and jacks before the flop than they are to play 4s and 3s. An ace on the board is different in kind in every single respect from there being a queen on the board. Because players will play so many aces and they won't play so many queens. So it's important to understand, so let's say you've got a pair of jacks and there's a queen on board, it's so much less likely with 1 or 2 opponents that someone has a queen than if someone has an ace. It's not less likely at the point of the deal that someone has a queen than an ace, but in terms of going to the flop, it's less likely that someone has a queen than an ace. By the time it gets, once you're playing no fold'em hold'em, there's the text number on the screens now, just in case anyone was wondering why on earth that was coming up. By the time you're playing no fold'em hold'em in a limit game or in a big old loose no limit game, then fine. Once you've got 6, 7, 8 players seeing the flop, that becomes much less true. But heads up, the cards that are on the board have a massive impact on the kind of standing that your hand might have. So very, very important to bear that in mind, and that was probably Smoothcut's thinking there when he was betting out aggressively with his 4s when it was a jack high on board. So good play by Smoothcut, and probably an effective use of that theory and possibly a read on the players who he was playing against at the time. Pair of 8s versus King Queen. Would you just be calling with it, or would you be raising with it up? Or would you be calling with King Queen? In fact, King Queen suited. Or raising and putting yourself in that situation. Oh, that's a bad flop for Irid, or whatever his name is, because he's hit his top pair. He's feeling fairly confident, and he's drawing not dead, but it'll be an ill wind that blows this into a happy port. What are you laughing at?
An ill wind. I like your analogies. That's all. Okay.
And Frame exists, or what is his name? Name exists. I don't know. He's put in a bet now, which Irid can really drop this, and the fact that he does is fan-dabby-dozy, because Irid was saying, I have a better hand than you, sir. Bloof there. Folding away. Got a little email here from Ambience. That's a nice name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ambience.
It is nice.
And he says, loving the show.
It's a great way to start.
We got a post on the forums, I don't know if anyone read it, from this guy who was having a big Barney with Nick, I think. And he said, why do you only ever read out emails that say loving the show? You don't read out emails that criticise the show. Well, we do try, but I'll be honest with you, that does help. Most cathartic piece of abuse, if you can call it that, I ever gave a player online was during a £10 buy-in multi-table when I re-raised his initial raise with 10-10. It was an initial raise all in with 10-10. We both had plenty of chips and he called with 9-5 suited. And I said, and said, I'm going for the flush. Well, the flush arrived nicely on the river. I told him well played and nice call, good luck. I think I genuinely meant it. Obviously not from a play point of view, but it made me feel slightly better about losing my tenner. There's a serious point in that, folks, which is about the principle of karma, which a lot of people argue about as being an external principle, but is definitely an internal principle. In other words, it's very difficult to play your best if you're hating someone. It's very difficult to do anything in life if you're hating someone. I know we're getting all religious now on Poker Night Live, but it's really, really true. And it is genuinely cathartic to, first of all, forgive someone else, and then you can forgive yourself. So I would advise against abuse in the chat box for that reason above all others. Email from Jeff. I had a lot of bad beats early in the multi-table tournaments and lost my confidence. How can I keep my confidence up to play like I usually do? How can I keep my confidence up to play like I usually do? Please, please, please help me. Great show. And I don't know if you can see this email, Kara, but it's a combination of capitals and lowercase that looks like he's cut letters out of a newspaper and made a sort of hate mail, as if he's threatening me with murder.
It's like a ransom demand of some sort.
Please, please help me. It could be please, please, please pay up. Jeff, how can you keep your confidence up? Well, step number one, forgive other people. Send out lots of love. I know that sounds really stupid, but it's honestly true. You know, one of the principles certainly of centering is to be at one with your environment. And you know what I like actually about this show is that I was talking about this sort of 9-10 months ago. Not my first 2 months because I didn't have the guts, but I was talking about this 9-10 months ago and a lot of people were saying, oh, there goes Caspar, off on one again. And actually, much more so in recent months, people have said, okay, well, we forgive him and this is actually quite useful stuff. Because people are understanding that this is really what poker is about. Poker is about the ability to make great decisions. You all know so much about what decisions you should make. It's about making those decisions and following through in the heat of the moment. And you know that. You know in your heart of hearts that that is what poker is about. So one of the things is being calm and being just predisposed to other people. It's a very important thing. And incidentally, that's why I stopped playing live. Because I got to the point where I really wasn't liking being around a lot of other people, and I felt that it was bad for my game and bad for my general sort of karma and mindset. So number one, Jeff, let's be nice to other people. Number two, you can have a confidence in what you do if you know rationally that what you're doing is right. So in other words, if you know about the game and you have a lot of knowledge about the game and you know that the decisions you're making are right, not you believe they're right because you're a confident person, but if you know rationally that they're right, then you can rationalise the fact that outdraws will happen. And I know it's depressing. I understand that. Mate, you're talking to someone who did this for 3 years for his rent money, okay? So I have been there and I have gone on tilt and I have suffered the consequences. But that's the second thing, is to be able to rationalise what you do. The third thing I would say is to take time out, okay? You're not taking time out to allow the bad run to play itself out. It doesn't play itself out without you. And I've gone on a number of different trains of thought about this, and I have been thinking about it a lot, and astute viewers will know that I've kind of changed my mind about this, because I was worried that taking time out was sort of running away from the problem. But one of the things that I found is that in the big time poker, about 2 years where I played very rarely, and in the breaks that I've had from poker because I've been doing other things, my mind becomes much more clear, and when I come back to the poker table, I'm playing much sharper. So the bad thing about taking time out, and you can't do it if you're a real jobbing pro, is that you're not earning money playing poker. But taking time out allows the mind to clear, is absolutely essential to let information settle in the brain, and allows you to come back feeling more confident, because the memories of the times when you had the outdraws will have dissipated. Genuinely, seriously, I'm not going to talk about it in detail tonight, but if you want to learn a little bit about NLP, how to diminish the effect of certain memories in the mind, I would get to learn how to do that using submodalities. If people email in and ask me to talk about that, then I will do, but otherwise I'll leave it as a little bit of mystery for people to do some more reading about. So there we go, folks. We're going to go back to the MTT. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Good. So we have 22 runners left on 3 tables, and there are lots of people playing poker.
All over the world.
Is that what you've heard?
That's what I've heard. That's the rumor out there.
And come on, folks, get your emails in with the abuse that you've had and given and taken and enjoyed and laughed at online. What have been the things that made you laugh the most? What have been the things that made you thought, what a sad little man?
Well, I think someone's giving some abuse out in my chat box, but it's all in German, and I don't speak German. So, as abuse goes, it's not that effective, really. See? I don't get it.
No. Wie kan ik am besten zum Bahnhof, bitte?
That's exactly what I thought.
In essence, I've only asked the way to the station, but...
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Ah, right then. So?
Well, what do I make of that bet there by Captain G? I can be honest, I don't like it. I know it won, but he's so vulnerable in that situation. Whenever you put all your chips in a tournament, you're risking your entire position in it. And if Beardo had a jack or a bigger queen, he's quite capable of calling and taking Captain G out. But that's just my opinion. Do you not speak any German?
No.
No.
9.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Isn't it, though? No, I'm afraid that's all I speak.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Try my accent.
It's a great accent.
Thank you. Do you want to hear my German accent?
Go for it.
I don't know what I'm saying now.
Oh, you could tell me the way to the station again, I suppose.
No, I can't tell you where to... Erste Straße rechts. Oh, it's First Street on the right.
That didn't sound like First Street on the right, but okay.
Well, that's because it was in German.
Oh, see, that would be where... Yeah, I understand now.
Pair of 10s, calls. Captain G is a very aggressive player, isn't he? I think he may have met his match on this occasion. And... Let's move across to the new big stack table, shall we?
How exciting. Now, I believe you were giving someone some help yesterday on the show with some books. Good books to... And you were talking about a really good one with aces, kings and queens.
Well, this is a book which Nicholas Wellthorpe has just bought for me out of the blue as a present.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Well, it is, except I don't know what he wants.
Oh, that's terrible. Maybe he doesn't want anything.
No, don't get me wrong. It's very sweet, but he wants something. He's done something
wrong,
and I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's probably more likely.
You know, because he has literally just phoned me up and said, "What's your address? I want to send you a book."
Oh, maybe he thinks you just need a bit of help.
that's yeah. Wonder what his record is in the sit and goes. No,
I have no idea.
he's only played 2.
No, is that it?
Yeah.
Really?
But he hasn't made the money yet. So.
Oh, see, I made the money.
Yeah, I have not.
Ooh, yeah, you. So who wrote this book that he gave you?
Oh, it's pathetic, isn't it? Do you know? I don't know. But for Nick to, for Nick to buy anyone for anything, it must be good.
Yeah, I'll say.
And what it is it's the could be very interesting because he says it's the secrets of the pros, which I'm sure will involve some sort of anecdotes from their lives, but I believe focuses on the secrets that made their their play work. So I'm looking forward to it from that point of view.
Okay. Right, well, one of our fine viewers was just wondering who had written it, that was all.
If you type in Amazon, it'll take us 30 seconds to find out.
There you go.
Nick's only bought my copy from Amazon. So, King Queen for L Pig. Now, it's very aggressive. Everyone's very aggressive, aren't they?
Feeling that sort of night. Really, it's a Saturday night, I suppose, you know. Don't people start to get a bit aggressive around midnight on a Saturday night?
Saturday night, tum-tee.
Oh, I like it when you do that. It's funny. Almost sing.
Well, I mean, Ramchip's call was bad. I mean, in L Pig's defence. Well, that's not really in L Pig's defence. We got into a big conversation last night about someone making a call against me, which we didn't like, but it wasn't to criticise that person or chastise them for taking me out. We were just talking about the call independently. But if someone does do that from first position, then unless they've been playing very erratically, and I don't think L Pig does play that erratically, then it's still not a great call, because in Ramchip's case you're basically risking your entire situation in this tournament with Ace Jack as a call. But if L Pig has been playing like that repeatedly throughout the course of the evening, then the call not so bad. Pair of tens there, up against 7-9. Now that is where I probably would raise from the small blind. But you know, I would still make it going, oh God, I don't want to be re-raised here, not with a pair of tens. Now Ramchip has the queens. Nothing much to call him unless L Pig goes a bit nutty. Not out of the question. No, probably just going to take the blinds here, Ramchip, I'm afraid. Just a 2 times big blind raise, trying to sucker what's pup into the pot. And now L Pig with his first rational justifiable hand. So here's a question. Do we push now or do we wait for the flop to come? If we wait for the flop, then we may get them to fold more effectively. If we push now, then we may get them to call more effectively. What do we want to do if we're in L Pig's situation and position? Well, the blinds have just gone up. So really, probably, I think it's fair to say that we want them to call. He's only called in first position, so with Ace-King, we're probably in the lead. That's the kind of thing that players do with Ace-Jack and King-Jack and Ace-Queen. So probably pushing before the flop was the right thing to do then. And that's the way that you've always got to be thinking, is what will this player do in response to what I do, and what's my desired outcome? And on that occasion, because he was so low in chips, for me I would argue that he wants the call, he really wants to double up. Different if he was on the curve, if you like, with his stack. So you're still playing. I am still playing. So you can't do anything at all.
Right on.
I am going to tell us how to contact the show. Not us, obviously, but... so, there we are. It's all changed. It's all new. Text poker and your question to 842222. So if you wanted to ask me, like, you know, what's the best hand in poker, you'd say, poker, Caspar, what's the best hand in poker? You'd say that would be your text. Okay? Or you can email the show, poker@pokerlightlive. Keyword here is poker, as Woody Allen would say. poker@pokerlightlive.co.uk. And I've got 11 seconds to say goodbye to you. And join us again soon when we're going to be seeing Tara's tournaments and lots more besides. All that after this break. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's the third hour here on Beginner's Night. And you know what? I'm still playing. I'm really sorry.
Third hour.
I'm really sorry. This is the point in the show where I come back from playing. Sorry, let me just fold this. And then we look at the game that I did play and we commentate on it. But let's be honest, it was a bit rubbish. So I started playing another game and that just seems to be taking forever. So I do apologize. Cass is kind of on his own. But he's such a professional. He's all right with that. Look at him.
I thought we'd do is
He's not
go through some
bothered.
forums.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never done that before.
Let's do it.
Okay.
They post. So here's the post, which is, what's your preferred snack while playing? And let's see. Fishing for Chips says curly whirlies. Must be that berry influence, because I like sweets.
Aw.
And then someone, Motty T says, who's berry? Question mark. Patton. Chris Patton? Chris Berry? Don't know what that is. Bullo says tea and Fox's biscuits, or beer and crisps, or takeaway. Nick and I like to get fajitas, which he cooks. It's brilliant.
Yum.
Brilliant. And then a lot of Doritos
Yeah.
in. And then after about sort of 1 o'clock in the morning, mainly a cheese and ham toasty, which again he cooks, but with a lot of butter. So you know you put the butter on the outside of the bread with a cheese and ham toasty?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that stuff. It's brilliant. Lumas here has an excellent idea. Ham platter, which I've never even had before, but sounds brilliant. Chips, chocolate fudge cake, and a pint of milk.
Oh, that sounds good.
From my local pizza shop. He says a rude word, lovely. Double Top says, great suggestions, everyone. I've now moved the sandwich toaster into my study, and I'm now in search for the best toasted sandwich. At the moment, I do a tuna melt preference for the sandwich. Well, that is excellent. What do you eat while you're playing? That's what we want to know. 84222, but don't forget to mark your text poker for some reason. There's a thread here from Russ11. Interesting point. There goes some more chips. And Russ says, being centred. He says, I think Caspar is right about being in the groove, PNL, 8th of April, but I think his metaphor of the need of being centred is potentially very misleading. Okay. I think that he would be better saying decentered. I find it is precisely when myself intervenes that I do worst in poker. As a reflexively rational calculating machine, which is how myself fancies myself, I tend to slip and make mistakes, trip over my bad objects. When the decisions are in line with my brackets PNL educated feel for the game, I, small I, precisely not I, big I, seem to be win. I think he means seem to win. I have had this experience in other sports. This may also explain the positive effect of moderate amounts of alcohol on performance, also in snooker, etc. Russ, couldn't agree with you more. All that we're arguing about is the terminology for this. I agree totally about the moderate amounts of alcohol as well, because that's exactly what any narcotics do, actually, is, well, we won't go into that, because we don't advocate the use of narcotics here on Poker Night Live. Legal or illegal, let's not forget, caffeine's a drug, water's a drug. But it's very interesting, and a book that you'll absolutely love, Russ, is a book called The Inner Game of Tennis, or The Inner Game of Golf, or The Inner Game of Work, by a guy called Timothy Galway, who talks about this in great detail, and he was a tennis coach. He was regarded as one of the best tennis coaches in America. And he realised that in the human being, there's self-1 and self-2, as he ascribes them. And he says, self-1 actually has to do the thing, play the shot, and self-2 is the little voice inside our head which rationalises it. And he thinks that great performance, getting in the zone, if you like, is about silencing self-2, silencing that voice, which is exactly what you're saying here. So making the decisions with the little I and not the big I, which Freud might have called the ego. So we're not disagreeing about that. When I use the term centered, that's a Buddhist term, which means sort of that your energy is coming from down here instead of your energy being from up here. And I'm going to still go with my term centered. I know what you mean decentered. You mean sort of taking something outside the ego. But here, for me, is outside the ego, and it's where you can, once your energy's there, then you can just be. That's the principle of the Buddhist terminology centering, isn't it? Am I
don't know. Sorry, a huge amount about Buddhist principle of centering.
So let's not get hung up on the terms, Russ. Let's agree with the principle, and I agree with you entirely. That's why some of my best poker performances have been whilst a little bit drunk. That's not to say that being drunk makes you good at poker, because the problem with being drunk is that it has all sorts of adverse effects. But there are positive effects from being drunk when you're playing poker, and as you say, snooker. Not like Bill Werbenick drinking 18 pints before he played. Got it tax-free, apparently. Amazing. Let's get to a game and cease this idle prattle. We've got... Sorry, I've just listened to my producer.
I believe it's my game that's
Oh, we're going to
coming
watch your game.
We are going to watch my very first tournament from tonight.
But you're playing the second tournament.
I am still.
How
It
will
does
that
seem to
work?
be the longest tournament ever.
So does that mean... So I'll commentate on it and I'll give you a shout if we need your input.
Yeah, although I don't think you will.
Okay.
It's not that good.
Okay.
Well, not that everyone else wasn't good, but I'll just, you know.
Let's see.
Okay. I was trying to mix things up, just to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Nick in my last show, and he said to try a few new things, to play bad cards, different positions, see how it feels.
That's what he said. Play bad cards, different positions.
Just to see how it feels, and to get scared.
He's the pro, remember?
To stop getting scared, being scared of just playing. Because I do tend to freeze up a bit, and then don't play anything but premium cards, and so I think I might have got a bit overboard.
You know what? I disagree with Nick. I'll tell you why.
Yeah?
I think what Nick's doing is he's concentrating the learning experience into too short a time. I think you should get absolutely down pat the process of playing with premium cards before you start experimenting. Because it's lovely to think, okay, cool, so, you know, at this stage, let's start mixing it up a bit.
I don't think he was advocating it as... I think he said just the once, sit down, do a few different things, see what it feels like,
no, that's
understand
fine.
what's going to happen when you play in different ways.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't think he was advocating it as a good style for me.
No.
Just to kind of push me out of my fear of doing things.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Okay.
Let's have a look. I'm going to eat some pizza.
Go for it.
That's because I just didn't have dinner tonight.
I'm going to have a bit of a fizzy drink. Ah, very nice. Very, very nice. Right, so there we go. I'm Great Scott in seat 1, and thank you very much for 2 people actually got out of that seat to let me sit down. First, I believe it was Nash Anubis, and then it was Dean something. So thanks very much to those players. It was lovely of you to let me sit.
Dean something?
Dean something. It was numbers and letters.
He obviously made an impression on you.
Well, it was numbers and letters and stuff. Not good with remembering the numbers and letters.
You'd remember your PIN number, wouldn't you?
Barely.
Well, imagine Dean's your PIN number.
No, see, then I'll forget my PIN number. I've been known to do that. Get one number in my head and I forget all the other important ones. It's just wrong.
When you say you get one number in your head, you mean just one digit of your PIN number?
No.
And forget the other 3?
Well, if I think about it too hard, I actually forget what my PIN number is. I have to just do it by sort of mechanical memory, by physical memory on the keypad. I don't actually remember what the number is. I just do it by physical memory.
You're a weirdo.
Okay. Okay, I'm all right with that. It works for me. It works for me.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't either. I'm kind of wondering myself.
I mean, I've been working this show for a year. I've never seen that picture in front of me before.
No, do you think the viewers at home can see that, or is it just us?
Do you think they can hear us?
Are we alone in the universe?
Can we go home? Oh, you've got to finish your game. I can go home.
I'm still playing poker over here. Oh, and by the way, people think it's normal with the whole mechanical memory thing. There are people in my game, on the chat box, they're saying that they also do the whole mechanical memory thing. So there you go.
Can you ask them what they can see on their screens at home?
Yeah.
So, no,
I think they can hear you, haven't they?
That.
Yeah. So I'd be quite curious to hear
Guys, tell us, because our producers, I'll be honest, they've had better days. It's all quiet. Yeah, it is all quiet.
It is a bit quiet, isn't it? That's because we can... Oh,
with the people making the sounds.
There we go. Now we can see on our monitor the game again. Sorry, it kind of went away there for a while.
What we saw, folks, was tonight's show very fast, backwards.
It was a bit scary. I feel kind of seasick now.
I saw my pizza coming up.
Ew. I don't need to see that.
So, Kara.
Yes.
You're playing two hands at the same time because you're playing a hand on telly and a hand in real life.
This is true. It's very
freaky,
odd, isn't it?
Well, fishing for chips is just bet 90 at you. You've got ace 5 in the big blind. For me, it's a lay down. For you, it's a lay down too. Good stuff.
Thank you. We're of one mind so far.
Good stuff.
Before it all went wrong.
Now, what is it for Claire? Claire Ciar. Char. What's it for him? He's called in late position with ace jack. It's quite a weird call in the first place, I'm afraid, Char. It's the kind of hand that I would be betting. You would probably have got a call, or maybe not even that, from fishing for chips there. You would have won the blinds uncontested. And whilst the king came down, that's not the essence of my point. The point is, you let the small blind in, old buddy. Don't do it. Ace jack, late position, that's what we want to raise with it. First position, ooh, no. Late position, great.
Yeah, there's a lot to do with position. This is something that I kind of played around with tonight, I have to say.
How did you play around with position? Did you move chairs?
I moved around, just a little.
Yep.
No, I was just trying to see what would happen when I did different things in different, you know.
Are you going to call here with your 9-10? Call with your 9-10 in small blind? Can you remember?
I think I probably didn't. Oh, I did.
You did, good, excellent. Flop comes down and you've got nothing. So you're going to check, presumably. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I would have checked here, definitely.
Okay. Didn't think about having a little pop at it to try and take it?
Well,
Shouldn't
I
have
get
done.
scared. No, I
No, that's
don't.
fine.
That's the thing. I get a bit scared with the whole thing.
Only 60 in the pot. You have no idea what the others are thinking and feeling at this point.
That's true. I have a really hard time sussing out what the other my opponents may have.
So Isbrid now has third pair, two opponents, bets out in much the same way as our email earlier on. Would I do that? Yes, I would, is the answer to our email earlier on. But I probably wouldn't in a cash game.
No? Different?
Yeah, well, because there was an ace and a queen and a 6 on board. That is the kind of hand that people would check in a cash game, and I really don't like my pair of 6s. In other words, they would check a pair of aces there. They might even check and call a pair of queens. And with my two opponents in a cash game, and certainly a limit game, I would just leave it at that point. But in a tournament, because my priority is to pick up small pots that are uncontested, then I would bet out. But in answer to that earlier email, as soon as I'm called, that's it, I'm done with it. As soon as I'm called, I've got to flop 2 pairs or make 3 of a kind. Because
Right.
as soon as I'm called, I'm stuffed. Even if there's flush draws out there, I'm not definitely stuffed, but I'm stuffed with enough certainty that I'm not playing it with any kind of more aggression. And that, I think, was the thrust of the email.
You've gone through quite a few emails, haven't you, on this tonight? Getting through all the questions.
Getting through the emails
Amazing.
and going onto the forums, yes, definitely.
Nice. Well, someone sent a question in actually over the chat box asking what your favourite weird hand was. If you have a kind of a favourite weird hand.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone in the Heart of Hearts does like a bit of 10-2 because of the romance of Doyle winning with it.
Right.
2 years in a row. I'm very, very partial to a pair of 6s, which is not a weird hand, but I like it for weird reasons, which is Nick and I became convinced that I always flopped a set with them, just because we saw it happen so much. Dead Spiders has made King 10 on you, so you're in some trouble here. Does he checks to you? Now, do you try and bet out and take this and get into a bit of trouble, or do you check it down as well?
I'm going to just check it down.
Just check it down as well, okay. And you still haven't made anything, so poor old Hugh. He's really not going to make any money from you here at all, is he?
No, definitely not
Serves
going to.
him right,
Oh,
silly
say
spider.
it does. The silly dead spider.
Bets out, and you will fold. So what were we saying?
Favourite weird hand?
Favourite weird hand, yes. Favourite weird hand. 7-9 suited.
Okay.
Used to be a favourite weird hand because, as I've explained to people, there was a book by D.R. Scherer which advocated 7-9 suited as the holy nuts. And that's why I'm very reticent about joking or vaunting bad hands as good for reasons that people don't understand. Because 7-9 suited is a bad hand. Now, here's an interesting thing, Kira. So you've actually got a caller in mid-position with fishing for chips, and you've only raised it 3 times the big blind with ace-queen. Now, the problem with that for me is that you're going to get called with those hands. You're not extracting enough from it. As soon as someone's already called, you want to make your bet about 4 or 5 times the big blind.
Okay.
Yes, to be an isolation-y bet.
Okay.
Now, do you check this now, slow play? Because you've got a rainbow flop, in other words, 3 different suits. So you can definitely check this now because you're almost certainly
thinking
in the
about
lead.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think at this point, what do I do to make the most money here? And I probably did the wrong thing, and I bet again, and therefore I'm going to just scare everyone.
The thing is that because you were the pre-flop raiser, that they're probably going to be scared of you anyway as soon as those 2 aces fall. But actually, the best thing that you can do when that board comes down rainbow is check that, in my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion, and particularly, I might add, because it's you.
Right.
Okay. Now, what I mean by that is that comes back to my thing that I'm always banging on about, which is utilising what people think or know about you.
Yeah.
All right. And what people think or know about you is that you're not as strong a player as some others.
Definitely.
Okay? I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, that's very
true. You'd be the first to say that.
Yeah, of course.
And therefore, if you raise, let's say, with a pair of tens or queens in that situation, you may very well check the flop. Yeah. And if you check the turn as well, you may very, very well be successful in inducing a bluff. If I did it, they would know that if I had queens or tens, I would bet out in order to be asking the question, who has an ace?
Right.
Yeah. So once I've raised before the flop, when 2 aces come down, I really need someone to have ace-4 for them to have any possibility of making any money from them. Another chip catastrophe there.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm having difficulty holding on to your chips. Not
Fishing
that I'm
for
one
chips,
to talk.
making 3 kings.
Yeah.
Nice situation. So you see that you're trying to use, you're always asking yourself...
Right. What do they think of me? What do they think I might have, and how can I use that?
Yes. The first thing that you know that you think is what have you got? That's fine.
Right.
There's a whole load of other questions which I have listed as you ask yourself, and I've said them so many times on piano, I'm blue in the face, but the questions being, what is the betting action before me? What positions do those betting actions come from?
Right.
What is the style of the players after me? What are the players perceive of my image? What are players going to do if I call or raise in this situation pre-flop? All these questions that you ask yourself, but they do come down to 3 essentials that you're trying to establish, which is, number 1, what have I got, and how strong is that in relation to the board if there is one? Number 2, what have they got, and how strong is that in relation to me and in relation to their objective perceptions? And number 3, what do they think I have, right? And what will they make of my actions?
Right.
Because that leads to number 4, which is what are they going to do in response to me?
Right.
Okay. So you have to continually be aware of what people think of you.
Yeah.
And as I forget who it was now. One of our emailers pointed out, I can't really do anything about my image. My image is set. But what I can do is I can do tiny little things which will have an effect on the way people will perceive me in that particular hand. I'm going to say something very interesting now.
Oh, good.
I think it's interesting. I'm going to kill you for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is my favourite little factoid, which demonstrates that people make decisions about things without being consciously aware of them.
Right, okay.
Because a number of times I will say something like, I'm going to show my cards here now because let's say people fold around to me in the big blind and I show my cards to be a pair of tens,
right,
or a pair of jacks. What's the effect of that? Well, most players will say nothing. I don't care what you've got in the big blind. It doesn't affect my willingness to raise you from the small blind next hand, okay? But I would argue that it does, and I would argue that based on the following principle, which is that the addition of mints or mint chocolates with a bill in a restaurant increases the size of the tip by 30%.
Does it really?
Yeah. Now, not a single person alive, I would argue, goes, that was a lovely after 8 there, wasn't it? That was beautiful. I think I'm going to increase the size of my tip. That's not how it works. What happens is the human mind on a subconscious level feels good about their treatment,
right?
And wishes to engage in reciprocity, in a reciprocal gesture. It's a subconscious process, okay? And I believe that at a poker table, what you are doing, if you're a good player, is you're constantly trying to manipulate players in a subconscious way. We've already seen, or had someone email us earlier on tonight, said something which I believe passionately, which is if you are antsy with people and get them riled and engage in this abuse that we're urging people to email in with tonight, then you are going to have them raise you up and gun for you. And if you're nice to them, then they're going to be much more passive with you.
Right.
We know that, A, because we know that from our experience, B, because this emailer said so, and C, because Devilfish said exactly the same thing. And I think there are all sorts of little things like that that you can do to affect the way that people interact with you. And a book I would recommend for that, if anyone's interested in exploring that further, is a book called The Science of Influence by Robert Cialdini. The Science of Influence by Robert Cialdini.
Huh. Yeah, I think so. It's difficult, though, because some people, depending on your table image, are going to treat you one way while others will treat you another. Some will see, you know, someone who's playing very tight as a challenge. Some will see it as someone they respect. I don't know. I think my own table image was fairly tight because people knew I was a new player. Mm. Oh, we've just lost Robo Squirrel. There we go. But some people see that as I know, dearly and desperately. I like Robo Squirrel. It's a great mental image. Big robotic squirrel, like the Terminator, only of the animal world.
Oh, I see him as quite a small squirrel.
You know what? Because Nick does as well. I had this exact conversation with Nick. You and Nick both see him as quite a small squirrel, but with like a robotic arm or something.
I think like a small, it's
or little
a small
eyes
squirrel
that go,
with a tiny vole inside operating him.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's just how I see it.
Okay, I see a massive squirrel, sort of RoboCop style, or Terminator.
If we were better psychologists, we'd know what that means about us.
I know. Yours is quite small and mine is quite big. Interesting.
Right, just for that,
Oh, no.
I'm going to pick you up on every single euphemistic statement you make. What did you do here with Jack King? Quick. Quick.
Oh, where am I? I'm probably going to raise it.
With?
No, wait a minute. I'm in early position. I did as well. I went 3 times big blind.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. You're gritting your teeth.
The blinds aren't pressuring you yet.
I know. Okay. I'm trying to see what, I was told I didn't play aggressively enough. That I've been far too passive and I'm getting blinded out. And that's why when I get to the end of a tournament, I just don't have enough chips.
You are, but what you did there was make a move based on cards and not position or perception.
That's true. I was in first position. It's
so you got
terrible.
crappy cards and you got crappy position and perception.
Right.
Yeah?
And now I've lost money.
And I hope you lay this down.
Oh, gosh, yeah. After that sort of bet. It's quite clear that
so it's
I made
unlucky,
a bad
of course,
call.
that you make a raise and someone's got a good hand behind you, all right?
It's not unlucky, though, that I did out of position.
But you've got to have one or the
move.
other. Well,
yeah.
It is, because, I've had situations where I've raised in first position and I don't happen to have someone with a pair of queens behind me. But that's the thing, you've got to have one or the other, right? Because you've got to have positive expectations, so you've got to have one or the other.
Right.
If everything's crappy, but you think, well, if I put all those crappy things together, then it will come good, that's where problems arise.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. What?
So just the way you said that. Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I just feel really beaten.
Why?
Because I just don't...
So, see, I could have picked up on that, but I didn't.
You did, really.
Do you want to understand?
You really
did.
did.
Seriously? I'm letting you get away with so much.
You really are. And I appreciate it. Greatly.
When do you feel beaten?
Well,
Seriously.
I want so much to get better at poker. I just have not been able to spend the time online playing to get better, which is not very good.
Well, that's a good thing. I hope you're outside enjoying the sunshine, as my mum used to say.
Well, I have been. I've not been at home with a computer.
65 years to enjoy sunshine, Mum? Sorry?
Oh. Well, I've not been at home or near a computer, that's the problem, so I haven't been able to do it. And I'm quite conscious of the fact that I'm quite rubbish.
You're not rubbish.
No, well, I'm not great. There's no middle ground in my world. You know, you're either rubbish or you're great. It's sort of, that's just the way it goes. Right, rubbish cards.
See, for me, there is a middle ground, and it's called hard-working.
Ugh, how boring.
Hmm.
No, I know, that's true. You know what? Someone said this to me. It's a quote, a favourite quote of someone very close to me. A professional is someone who works even when they don't feel like it. And that's the sort of hard-working thing. It's about putting that extra effort in, and that's what makes you good or makes you professional or makes you, you know,
Do you know my favourite quote?
What?
It's by Henry Ford, although it's actually attributed to a number of different people. Oh, let's see how you play the Queens. What are you going to do?
Probably raise it.
By how much?
3 times big blind.
Why?
That's what I always do.
You've got an early position caller.
That's true. Oh, I've gone all in instead. I'm not very good at remembering what I did.
So there we have it.
Yeah. Oh, I remember this. Everyone gasped at the table. And there was a lot of people typing in the chat box, "Ooh, you've really changed gears there." Yep.
Well, you put fish and for chips to a decision there, so not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. I had a pair of queens. It's not like I didn't have anything.
So it's by Henry Ford.
All right, guess, go on.
And he says, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right.
Yes, I know this is one of your theories, which I agree. You've got to believe that you can succeed if you're going to succeed. You can't go into something half-hearted. And there's hope, I know, and there's being sensible and realistic about things, but you have to have some kind of knowledge that, yes, you will succeed.
I saw Simon Woodruff speaking the other day. Well, I compared an event in which he was speaking.
You were comparing it to what?
I was comparing it to Richard Branson, and he didn't come out very well.
Okay.
No, he did actually. He's a much better speaker than Richard Branson. Richard Branson's a pretty poor public speaker, actually. Although obviously a great entrepreneur.
Yes.
No, Woodruff was a great speaker, very inspirational, and he said that the 2 qualities that he thinks makes a good entrepreneur. What were you doing calling that? Why were you calling that?
What? What did I do?
Sorry, I'm giving you a lot of grief now.
But I'm checking.
No, you've not. You've called a massive pre-flop bet from the big blind with Jack Queen.
Have I?
Yes.
Well, I didn't mean to. Did I really? I missed that.
Yes, and that is the kind of thing that will lose you a lot of chips.
And it did.
Yes, and it did.
It did.
And it will do.
Are you sure I didn't make a big bet there?
No, you were in the big blind.
Oh, okay.
And it's really important because that means those are chips that you can't double up with.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It's really important that you have those chips. It's like in business, I'm sorry to bore regular viewers, but in business, £1,000 saved is like 10,000 earned because you operate on a margin of 10%. So every time you earn £10,000, you've actually only made 1,000. So saving 1,000 is like making 10,000.
Ah, I see.
And it's the same in poker.
Right.
You operate on a margin, so you must. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in pots. Of course you should, but not
sensibly.
Yes.
Yeah, do it sensibly. Right.
Okay. So Simon Woodruff says that the secret to great entrepreneurialism, for which I think you can read The Secret to anything, is ignorance plus enthusiasm. And he's absolutely right about something, because if you read a lot of the psychological and self-development literature, the key, once you set your goal, the next stage is you absolutely must believe that you can achieve it.
Okay.
You must believe that you can achieve it. I'm not saying blindly,
Yeah.
and there's a fantastic debate in the literature about the difference between optimists and pessimists, and if anyone wants to read up on this seriously, the 2 writers are Richard Wiseman, who's writing the book The Luck Factor, which is very relevant to poker, and Martin Seligman, who's the guy who is one of the fathers of the science of happiness, and he's writing in a book called Flexible Optimism. It's a good book. But believing you can achieve it is absolutely essential, and Woodruff's point is that if you know too much and you study the figures and you know how difficult it is to make a business work or anything like that, you'll never start anything because you won't believe you can achieve it.
Yeah.
And you certainly won't succeed because you won't believe you can achieve it. So it's a very interesting point because it's a point that runs counter to the ideal of mastery, because it's basically saying that ignorance is what will give you the drive and the thrust. And it's demonstrated in two stories that I know of. One is the Trainspotting guys, who said exactly. Second is the team of people who made the film that I wrote. And both of us said exactly the same thing, which is if we knew how difficult it was to make a film from the outset, we'd never have made it. We probably wouldn't even have started. I mean, there's countless guys who at that time and now who are members of Soho House and sit in Café Bohème and know everything there is to know about directing TV commercials and earn 300,000 a year, but don't even try and make feature films because they know how difficult it is. Yeah? Whereas that complete lack of knowledge and total ignorance about doing it was what gave us the thrust and the propulsion to go ahead and get a bloody feature film made.
Yeah, they do say that that's true. Most films would not get made if people knew how hard it was going to be.
Right.
So I'm playing 17% of hands.
Good.
Does that tell you anything?
It's good.
Is that right?
You're tight.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Okay.
I'm about 24 at this stage in the tournament, 24 to 28.
Okay. Do you
now,
look at stages?
Whoa, what have you done there? Why have you called a King 10? Can we go back there, Mr. Producer? So good sighing. Come on, it's got to be cruel to be kind.
No, you're absolutely right. I just played absolute rubbish.
Well, why did you call with King 10?
Was I calling?
Yes, you were calling
sure?
again. This is the second time that you've called from the big blind. You've got to stop calling from the big blind with hands that look okay but are actually trash.
Right.
What's the phrase about calling? You've got to have a...
But you have to have a stronger call, a hand to call than you do to raise.
Right.
So, but I figured I've only got a few chips.
You've got 500 chips left.
Okay.
And when are you going to use those chips? When you're raising, when there's a chance of taking the bets in the pot uncontested.
Yeah.
Not when the only way that you can win is to have a better hand than the opponent who's raising it up. And this occasion with Ace Queen. I'm sorry, I'm only doing it to be...
No, to be helpful and kind, and I appreciate it, because seriously, you just smacked my hand. No, go on, do it.
Because you'll take it away and I'll hit the table.
Probably. No.
Oh, go on.
See? I didn't take it away. Maybe now I'll learn. Okay, this is an email from Voice of Joe. Great name, by the way. Really like that.
I don't think it's his real name. I think it's a handle.
Is it? That's too bad. I was thinking of, naming my kids like that. Voice of Joe. This is for you,
Feet
Caspar.
of Graham.
Caspar, last night I'm sure Mark said that you should play looser against a maniac. Did I hear him right? I always thought the best way to beat a maniac was to just play strong hands, for example, tighten up. Didn't Richard's dad Doyle say that you should play loose on a tight table and tight on a loose table? By the way, I thought your description of Michelle last night was very funny. Is she going to use 6 pints as her online table name? Cannot believe you did that last night.
Can I say something to all of you out there, right? Shh. That's our little secret.
Oh, yeah.
No. If Michelle finds out that I said that, I'm in so much trouble. So, all of you, shh. Okay. It's between us.
Totally between us.
if anyone emails Michelle when I will kill you. I won't read your email if you email me, if anyone tells Michelle that.
Yeah, of course. Was Mark right or am I right? Do tournament ring games differ in how you should approach maniacs? Thanks very much. What do you think?
Do you know what? This is a really interesting question. And what I'd like you to do, Joe, I know it sounds a bit of a cop-out, but I'd like you to raise this question on a pro night. And this is no offence to you, Kara. No. I'd like to have a big debate about this with Tom or Nick or something. No, it's not.
No, I know, I'm sorry.
I want to throw around the ideas for a little while because there's lots
of
ins and outs to it.
I understand.
mean, the arguments are this. If someone's going all in and raising it up massively, are you better off, just to wait for premium hands and then, call him, right? Or raise him up and he'll come over the top of you and you can call him with your king. Or are you better off saying, well, look, he is now playing a load of hands, and by the way, in that situation, therefore you break him, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if someone's playing very aggressively against you heads up, do you close down, and if they're the kind of player who'll still call you? See, the question there, actually, okay, so I'm kind of formulating my answer. The question there is he a maniac who's a real maniac, like a complete dinkus, who when you go all in will still call you because he's a nutter, right? Or is he a maniac who's actually just a very good aggressive player who will raise and raise and raise, but when he feels resistance, will just completely close down and come out of it, right? So you can't win his chips, but he's going to win all of yours. So that's the question. So if it's that, then you've really got to. If he's an idiot, then you can play him by tightening up. If he's a good player, actually, then the question is, if you're going to play looser, do you need to play looser but just a little bit tighter than him, in which case you're going to play it by the cards, or are you going to play the man? Because if you play the man, you've got to get your kahunas out on the table, not literally, and re-raise him. And that takes a really good player. In other words, you're playing a good player when you're saying is, I'm going to outplay him. I'm not going to play by the cards, I'm going to outplay him. And I think that's what you've got to do, or you've got to get up. Is there a difference between tournament and ring games? Well, one very specific difference, which is in ring games, if you think you're making money from this guy, then stay, and if not, get up. If you're throwing your game against the other players, then get up. Because remember, you're playing all the other players around the table, not just one individual, okay? So if there's other profitable players at the table who you're making money from, then carry on playing them. But if he is throwing your play against other players, then get up. In a tournament, you've got to carry on playing him, so you do have to have a strategy. And in a tournament, I think you've got to then adjust your whole strategy for that one person. And again, I think it comes back to that distinction. But I'm going to ask you, Joe, to email that in again when I'm doing a show with Nick or Tom, so we can have a big like whole show debate about that, because it's something that I have raised with Tom, and we keep on saying we're going to discuss it next week, and we never got around to it. Lots of different things there. I hope that helps.
No, absolutely, good idea. Because some of these questions really do need a bit more in-depth.
It's such a big one. That
Get Nick on the show with his analysis glasses.
I do like calling Doyle Brunson Richard's dad.
That is quite funny, actually. Yeah. I believe we've got the final table of the MTT to take a look at. So why don't we go there? And there it is, the Rubisco Kid, Pigeonhead, Jamati, What's Pop, Feckless, Hawk21, and MJH.
We've got hundreds of emails now, haven't we? Now everyone's back from the pub.
No.
Email from John saying, can you mention the name of the book? You mentioned it's Influence. It's just Influence, I think, not the Science of Influence. It's Influence by Robert Cialdini, Cialdini. Italian guy, Cialdini. By the way, folks, I might add, can we find this book by Kevin Hogan? No, I don't know. No, it's definitely Robert Cialdini. I might add, that is one of the 5 best non-fiction books I've ever read in my life. If anyone has even a passing interest in psychology, it is absolutely fascinating, because it's a load of details about psychological studies, but presented to the layman.
Oh, interesting.
And then breaking influence down into 6 basic component parts. One of the most fascinating chapters, I think, because there's 9 tools of influence by 2 guys called Euclid and Folb, who are the masters in the world of psychology on influence.
Okay.
But those 9 tools of influence don't include, I think, one of the most fascinating subjects, which is scarcity.
Right.
In other words, humans want that which
they don't
scarce.
have or is scarce. Yeah.
And things become more desirable the more scarce they become, which is why those plates that they sell in the back of the Daily Mail magazine only have limited runs of 500.
Right.
People perceive that they want one. And using the concept of scarcity in situations like poker can be fascinating.
Well, it's kind of at the heart of poker as well, if you look at the hand ranking structure.
It absolutely is.
It's the hands that are more difficult to get or more scarce, therefore have a higher value.
That's right. But Robert Cialdini, Cialdini. Influence.
Influence.
Yeah.
Queen Ace for Hawk21. Right, our big stack there at the table is MJH, and the little stack is Rubisco Kid. The kid bringing up the rear. There we go. 8-6 against 10 King. Blinds are at 1,000 and 2,000, and as we did say, the MTT is a bit different because the blinds do go up. Well, they go up a bit slower, not slower in time, but in amount. They don't double the way they do in a single table tournament, which is what gives them so much more play. And there you go, Rubisco Kid just doubled through with his 8-6 suited. Still the short stack, but not quite in as much trouble as he was before. Not 10 times a big blind, but Not doing too badly. There we go, and the dealer button moves one seat around. And there we go. That was a bit more on the final table for our multi-table tournament. We are going to come back and take a look at that again. Not to worry, it is the final table. But we're going to do some more emails because you guys are definitely jumping on the bandwagon for the whole abuse in the chat box thing and sending lots of questions in as well. So let's take a look at some of those. We've got one here from David in Cheltenham. And David says, just 2 quick questions. How do tournament directors at live games or poker engines on web games decide who moves to which table as players get knocked out in a multi-table tournament? Now, this is a question we have had before as well, but it's a good one because I wondered this myself for ages. Also, and heads up, is the dealer always on the small blind? Great show, learning loads and winning more. Thanks very much.
2 things. So, tournament director in a live game would make sure that people who are on the button go around to the button. So if there's a spare chair and they have to move someone from one table to another, they would take someone from the same chair in relation to the button. That's what's really important. Online, who knows? It seems to be completely random as far as I can see. And it's much the worse for that. And yes, the small blind should be on the button. It really, really should. But it's not always online. So there we go. Let's have another.
Right, and this one's from Gary K. Gary K says, hi guys, my favourite laugh online is when some people bluff the pot by going all in. As you've said many times though, Cass, you're only going to get called by a better hand, but still, they do it. And then they whine when they get beat because a guy beats them with second pair. They whine that he called with second pair. How can you call with that? When having watched, you see the guy call all the time, so don't bluff him. They whine for about 10 minutes, chucking money away at the same time. Cheers for a great show. Especially when Cass is on. Oh, we've got a fan. That's really sweet.
That's nice. That's 2 now.
It's amazing. It's almost a group. It's almost a group. Like, you can have a fan club with 2, maybe 3.
Like the Eurythmics or Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah. You could do, like, the whole Pet Shop Boys thing.
We have got a famous fan.
Really?
Yeah, but I can't tell you who it is.
Oh, you
but
did that
really
already
famous.
once tonight.
I know, he's really famous. I
something you
can't
don't
tell
know.
you he's really famous.
Really?
Yeah, it's really
Can you tell
exciting.
me later?
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
Oh, wicked. See, finally, I'm happy about
We're
that.
in great company though, folks.
Good. Well, he does like you very much, and so there you go. That's what he doesn't like anyways.
A friend of mine met him on holiday, and
Really?
they were talking to him, and they said, first of all, they said they was talking to this person, and I was like, oh my God, you didn't meet this person. And then they said, this celebrity was talking about playing poker, and I can't tell you, but they
Is it
just...
Robbie Williams?
No, I can't tell you. No, it's not Robbie Williams.
Okay.
But don't keep guessing like that, because
Okay.
that's like playground, isn't it? God, you accuse me of being a baby.
Sorry.
Go on.
Okay, right, we got another one here. This is John Steventon, a DJ Recess. Says, hi, Cass and Cara. Great show tonight. Thanks very much.
Tony the Tiger, isn't it? That's
Great. Worst abuse was when 2 guys kept ganging up on me and would make bets, leaving only 1 cent if I called, telling me they did it so I'd still be there for them to laugh at me. That's just mean. It was just when I started online and I panicked and lost very quickly. Bullies. It's not nice.
Well, if there's 2 of them doing it, then you can call that collusion, in which case you should be phoning up the tournament director of the website and reporting them, because that is collusion in my book, but anyway.
There you go. It says, the best piece of abuse is when some urchin was trying to wind me up. Wow, it's like, an urchin was trying to wind you up, was it? I suppose that falls in the animal kingdom as well, like a sponge.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a plant.
All right.
I'm not sure what an urchin is it? Is an urchin an animal?
No, it's an animal.
Am I thinking of an enemy? What's an anemone?
An enemy's an animal as well.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they kind of,
My
definitely.
enemy impression.
That was
You're an
mine.
actress, you'll appreciate that. That was physical theatre live on air.
I could feel the essence of the anemone with
Have you heard Tom's impression of a baboon having an orgasm?
No, but I've heard it's quite
It's not
funny.
to be missed.
I can't wait, really, I can't.
I can't do it.
It's a shame because I would really like to hear that. I'll have to get him to do it for me sometime. Yes, some urchin was trying to wind him up by calling him a very bad name. DJ something else. So I told him to put his mother's credit card back in her purse and get ready for school the next day. Ooh, score, nice one. He says, I don't know if he was affected by it, but he shifted into someone else and quickly lost. I think I lost that one too, though. Anyways, great show. On tonight's movie choice, Cass, The Big Blue or Big?
Ooh. Well, I do love Big, actually.
Oh, yeah,
I do love Big. It's one of those
film.
great populist movies. Can I just say the best thing to write in a chat box online?
Yeah.
If you've got time. If if the tournament's going a bit slowly, and particularly if anyone's getting on your nerves, just type the following words in the chat box. I swear it freaks people out, right? Because everyone's paranoid about internet poker. So all you need to do is just type in, is it just me or can everyone else see everyone's cards?
That's quite funny.
It works, honestly.
That's quite funny. Should we do another one?
Let's do another one.
Okay, why not? We got loads here. Right, this is from Pink Rock, Ireland. Probably Pink Rock in Ireland is what I'm guessing. Playing one night in a heads-up pot and a pair of 9s with a 7 comes on the flop with 2 hearts. My opponent bets and I raise to stop them drawing out, and they fold. Then they start to call me an idiot. That's just not very nice, is it? So I told them where to go. A couple of hands later with him, he slow plays his set, allowing me to get my straight. He moves all in for $25 and I win. And then laugh at him in the chat, telling him that that's what happens when you slow play your set. Great show, thanks.
Excellent.
So you are definitely an advocate of the, back chat, bit of rubbish chat.
Excellent. I do enjoy saying I'm going to enjoy spending your money. That's a nice thing to just...
Okay. Okay.
Just tell them a couple of things you're going to buy with it.
Nice. Here's one from Fishin' for Chips, who was in the tournament that I was just playing. Evening, guys. My funniest bit of abuse was in a heads-up tournament. First hand, I got dealt aces. My opponent called, and I raised 5 times the big blind. He then went all in, and I called. He turned over a pair of 9s. The flop brought a 9, giving him a set, and the match was over in the first hand. Ouch. He then said, you idiot, how could you go all in with that on the first hand? It's obvious to anyone that I'm unbeatable, heads up. My head hurt after that, so I didn't play for the rest of the day. Oh, sad. And he says, P.S. Cass, I wouldn't beat yourself up about going all in with the King 10 in late stages of Beat the Presenter last night. I agree with Mark that I wouldn't have called with anything less than a big hand, and it was just unlucky that I happened to have Ace King. I always enjoy your play and honesty when commentating, so keep it up. Regards.
Cool. Thank you very much indeed, buddy. I really appreciate that. It was a good game, and you were a well-deserved winner. And I'm really sorry we didn't see the end of the game last night, because I was stupid and played in 2 tournaments. So I apologise for those people who went on to win their tournaments. It was quite disrespectful of us, but there was a time issue, so I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. And there's another one here. This is Briddy Noss, who went out first in my tournament. His name is Rich as well. Hi, Kara and Cass. Got knocked out first in Kara's game earlier on. My set of 3s walked into a full house. I put him on 2 pair, but unfortunately not a house. In the interests of chip accumulation, I thought it was a viable opportunity, as he had not represented the hand until my re-raise, and I could not put him on that hand. I thought he was betting 2 pair. My mistake. As to chat box abuse, no offense, but I find the American players to be the worst. Ouch. And I've seen many...
We're not offending you, though, like, if you're not American.
Well, no, I'm not American.
So, and you can hate Americans as much as we do.
Well, no, because that's just
I don't hate Americans.
Ethnocentric, and I wouldn't do that.
God sake, I suppose it is being ethnocentric.
It is being ethnocentric.
I tend to think of that
I don't like them, but, I'm just kidding. Obviously,
actually,
I am
is
very
it being
sorry.
Ethnocentric?
Yes, it is.
No, but they're the same ethnic group as we are. They're just not the same
nationality. We're being
nationality.
Eurocentric then.
They're not European yet.
Yes, we can agree on that. But I think the actual definition of the word ethnocentric would encompass that.
I think it's only about ethnic groups. I did anthropology at university.
Ooh! Excuse me.
Got a 2-2, so I mean, doesn't mean I know what any of the words mean.
Clearly not.
No.
He says, I find the American players to be the worst and have seen many players' chat facilities disabled by the poker site managers because of their comments. I tend to be as polite as possible and do not rise to any comments. The worst comment I had was after I beat ace-ace with king-king-king, and the player hoped that I would, get some very horrible disease and die.
I think you
charming.
can say AIDS.
Well, yeah, but just it's mean.
It is
awful.
mean. No, of course, I know.
The guy wished he would get AIDS and die.
We're not laughing at people with AIDS, though.
No, it's awful. Yeah. Anyways, he says he also plays against some of the players, the Canadian players, on the Canadian Poker Night Live, and enjoys it very much. So thanks, is Briddy Noss, or Rich, as you're otherwise known in your real life as well, out of the poker thing. Now we are going to go for a break very soon, but we are coming back with lots more. We have the final table of the MTT to get through. We might just show my other tournament, I don't know, if, you know, the manager's here to deem it interesting enough. But we will take a look and see. Otherwise, there will be lots of great poker, more emails.
Lots more abuse.
More abuse. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you stay tuned because it's all here on Poker Night Live. Amateur night. Who would have guessed? Hello and welcome back to the final hour here on Beginner's Night, Poker Night Live. We've been here with you for 3 hours of your Saturday night, giving you that sort of much needed help and guidance in your poker. Would you say?
No.
No, not at all actually. But hopefully entertaining you, and that, you know, is kind of the other side of the coin. So hopefully at least on that side we are providing some benefit to your lives. But I don't know, if you want to watch again tomorrow night when it's pro night, maybe you'll pick up just that little bit more. And as well, tomorrow night we have the Poker Bowl qualifier as well. Ooh, the very first ever Poker Night Live Poker Bowl qualifier. So
excellent.
You might not want to miss that, because it'll be quite exciting and interesting. Right, we have more things on abuse and abuse in chat boxes. If you've just joined us, we've been looking at the funny things that people say and have said to them when they you know, crack someone's aces or whatever. So here we go. This is from Big Jace. It says, hi, Cara and Cass. Great show as always. He says, the one piece of chat box abuse that I found both amusing and disturbing at the same time was when a guy told me he was going to, and this is gross, just so that you know, if you're easily offended, turn away now and plug your ears. The guy said he was going to hunt me down and eat my skin. Nice. After I'd knocked him out of a multi-table tournament after hitting my flush. I cannot...
Sorry.
That's nice Hannibal Lecter
Sorry.
impression. He says, I can only assume that English wasn't his first language, and it's probably a regular saying in some other country, perhaps. I replied by saying that it's tastiest with the right marinade, and he proceeded to follow my progress over 3 or 4 tables, just repeating it over and over again. Much more interesting than the usual, dang it to heck you, flipping lucky so-and-so. And he says, by the way, Cass, I've been told that true fajitas are made using cow diaphragm muscles. Personally, I stick with the false ones that are made with chicken. That's odd.
I don't want to know that at the end of that email, really, do I? I feel really queasy now.
I know, I feel a bit ill as well.
Fava beans, etc.
Anyways, there you
Let's
go.
get a more dose. I'm sorry I raised the subject of abuse.
I know, well,
AIDS and cannibalism.
Right, well, this one's from Stu in Burton. This one says, when I'm playing online and take my time, if someone types zzz in the chat box at me, I'll often reply with, what's the matter? Have you got flies? It must be the smell of poo. And he doesn't say it that way. He says it in, you know, nastier wording. He says, it amuses me anyways. Keep talking no NLP on PNL.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and NLP is also No Limit Poker.
No, I was going to say.
And Late Night Poker, the show that started all this, is LNP. So
complicated. So complicated. There you go.
Thanks to you.
I like that one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good.
That's quite funny. You know, less of the cannibalism, as you say. Right, this one's from Nick, and I think it's a question. Right, I was playing the MTT earlier, doing okay, even though I'd only played a couple of hands. A loose player at the table put in a raise. I was in late position with pocket kings. I was worried about the player in the big blind because he played virtually every hand, whether raised, pre-flop or not, hence I pushed all in. The raiser had ace-king and won with an ace on the river. My question is, when I have position like this, should I just call with the kings and hope to dodge an ace on the flop? That way, I have more chance of winning the hand. Any advice would be appreciated, and thanks very much. And that's from Nick.
I think it's fine to go all in before the flop. So to understand correctly, what you're saying is, if I've got kings, should I wait and see what the flop brings, and then if there's no ace, I can move all in and he's likely to fold then. So I understand the logic with that. But the thing is, you don't know that he's got ace-king. And actually, to be honest with you, when you put your money in like that, you're still a 70% favourite. So yes, he could pull an ace, but you know, I think with kings, you're pushing. If you know that someone's going to call you before the flop, and you've got kings, and you know that he's got a worse hand than you, or you know, so rarely he's going to have aces, then you're loving that. And of course, you know, sometimes you're going to lose with that, but that is poker. So I think, no, absolutely not. I think you're in a great situation. You did the right thing. Nothing more you can do. Go to the car, think about it, but basically come out with the conclusion that you're right. It's the same thing, you know, it's exactly the same thing. People do write in and they want confirmation that what they do is right.
Absolutely.
And they're looking at both sides, and that's fantastic. But deep down, you know what the right thing to do is, and you did it.
Yeah, sometimes you do the right thing and it turns out badly, but it doesn't mean it was the wrong thing to do.
No.
So don't be results oriented.
No, good. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Fantastic. Right, let's do one more and then we're going to head to a tournament.
Okay.
This is from, it's an email from Dinuts. It says, hi, Karen Caspar. Nice to see my favorite amateur night presenting combo. I thought you were just going to say amateur presenting combo. I was going to get a little, you know, have a bit of a hissy fit, but that's fine. His favorite amateur night presenting combo. I've been dipping in and out of Poker Night Live this evening, so apologies if I've missed the discussion. Regarding earlier discussion about the use of instinct, I think some self-analysis is necessary before following these instincts. Because for me, this is all about the character of the individual. Are these decisions based on any emotion, like pride or respect or faith, and so on? Or are they logical, information-based decisions for instinct? So I would be interested to know if Caspar was aware of any profiling questions that could be used to assess a poker player. For example, the type that would be used for employment selection. Interesting idea.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I'm going to have to plug my employer at this time and say that the only free profiling questions that I'm aware of on the web are at the Mind Gym online, which is themindgym.com. Some of you may have seen their green books advertised on Amazon or on the Tube if you're a Londoner. And there's some interesting examples there. I think the point that you're getting at, Denuts, is that I'm assuming that people who are listening to their instinct are sane, sound, rational, logical thinking, intelligent, questioning, open-minded people. And of course, not everybody is. So it's a good point. But thank God they're not. Because that's how you make money at poker, is by people making decisions based on pride, respect, faith, superstition, and all that kind of stuff. I guess what I'm saying when I talk about instinct, though, to get to sort of the logical truth, or the logical truism behind what I'm saying, is that it is precisely that which underlies all that and is what exists when you peel that away. So what you're saying is, if people are trying to get to their instinct, they may well be clouded by those things that you say. And I agree with you. And actually, it's a real skill getting to the heart of one's rational but intuitive decision-making power, which in a sense is quite a spiritual place, which you might say is the opposite of rationale. But I can't really provide all the answers on how you do that. I don't think that if you are doing that, that your psychological profile plays a part, but your psychological profile will certainly play a part in how apt or able you are to get to that place. Does that all make sense?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, but listen, good point, Dinuts. I mean, not denying the point at all. It's absolutely right. I think there are a number of people who will listen to me saying that, and who won't have the capacity to access that place, and for whom it could be quite dangerous advice to start to try and heed.
Yeah, because you don't know what they're actually tapping into if they're not really tapping into that sort of more pure instinct. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting point.
Yeah.
Right, we are going to talk about a few more of these points, these interesting points, and your emails, and a little bit more about abuse in chat boxes and whatnot as well through the rest of this hour, in our final hour. And if you have any comments, any questions you want us to talk about here on air, then let us know. Here in the studio, there's a couple ways to get in touch with us. The first one is you can text the word poker and then your question to 84222. That's a new number, so make sure you don't use the old number, please, and make sure you also text the word poker first, otherwise it doesn't come through to us here. Or if you've got a longer question or a story to tell us, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. That's the email address for the studio. And now let's go back to our final table for the multi-table tournament and take a look at what's going on there. And there it is. Right, we are down. Why can't I even count? Down to the final 6 now. Gosh, that took me ages to count that. It must be, oh, I don't know, 1 in the morning.
I know, I'm feeling it. And I had 12 hours of sleep last night.
Really? Overslept.
No. No, under, if anything.
Really? You're not sleeping that much lately? You're playing too much poker?
It was quite a wild time in Prague.
Ooh.
Still recovering.
You and your European adventures. Sounds exciting. My adventure's not quite as exciting. I'm going to Canada on Monday.
But that is exciting. I've never been to Canada.
You would like it. We've already said this.
I'd like to drive across the plains. I'd like to point my car east and just drive for thousands of miles.
It's not that interesting. I've done it. I used to go to visit my parents.
Would
and
it not
would
be quite therapeutic, or you just get stuck behind a lorry? Is it just like the A69?
It's a long straight road with no houses for miles sometimes. And if it's winter, it's quite dangerous because you could be, if your car breaks down, you will freeze to death and you will not be able to walk to the nearest house because there will not be one for miles. It's quite remote. I loved it because it is very remote and it's very good for thinking. But, you know. Anyways, yeah. So I'm going back to Canada for a couple of weeks. I will be missing everyone here on Poker Night Live for the next 2 weeks, but I'll be back on the end of the month.
Good. Well, I'm not on for much of this month either, so...
Oh, see, now people are just going to tune out.
I don't know who is on.
Yeah, I know. Who would be on
You're
then?
not on. Tom's not on. I'm not on. James is in Sweden.
It's going to be Nick and Michelle.
Who's holding the fort?
Nick and Michelle. Interesting. I'm going to have to tune in from Canada and just to see what happens. Well, the blinds are still at 1,000 and 2,000 there, so we've not really missed that much. I think we probably have come back to the same part of this multi-table tournament. Rubisco Kid is... Excuse me. Oh, bit of a laugh there. Making funny noises, thanks very much. Rubisco Kid, still a short stack. Although there's quite a few short stacks there at the table now. I imagine it won't be too long until we're heads up. So there we go, Rubisco Kid is all in with his Jack 5, and it pays off, and he's doubled through. But Jamati, oh, not in very good shape there, not even the small blind left in his stack. But with a Jack 10, that's not such a bad hand if you're going to have to push all in. He's up against another Jack 10 and Jack Queen and a pair of 7s, so I don't know, difficult to see. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the odds on that one are, but we'll have to see how that plays out. And it doesn't. Not for Jamati. Rubisco Kid takes a few more chips on. No longer the short stack. Feckless. Ace Jack there has hit middle pair. Thanks everyone for your emails. I do appreciate you sending them in, telling us all about the different things people are saying to you, things that you're saying to other people in the chat box. It's a whole poker community out there, isn't it? Sometimes it's not a very nice place. No,
it's rarely a nice place, to be honest with you. This is why Poker Night Live is something of a haven of...
Is that true?
Yeah.
Because oh wow, I'm surprised because every time I've played, which have always been on our sites, everyone's been really nice. There you go.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things that I've never really liked about poker.
I guess so. It does sort of tap into all those instincts of competitiveness. Right, there you go. Feckless a 9-10 against What's Pop, but What's Pop lets it go, and Feckless takes that down. And is the biggest stack there now. And I got another couple of, or another big hand there for What's Pop. Jack Queen. I guess when you're only up against 4 other players, that's not just a good hand, but a very good hand, wouldn't it be?
No, it's not.
Is it not only against 4 other players? And 3 of them have put it down?
Gonna have
he's
to go
put
through the
down.
hand rankings with you.
Okay, but it's still, I mean, they're big cards. Okay, I'm just trying here. You talk now. It's your turn.
I just shot myself in the foot, didn't it?
No kidding.
Just have a little rest there.
Just provoking you into saying something. Obviously, I knew that was a terrible thing to say.
It's good, it's very clever.
Thank you. I
don't know what to
very
follow that
clever.
with.
That's all right. We've had an email through from Tragic Trev. Tragic Trev says, "Hi guys, great Scott, what a show! Wow." I think he might be being sarcastic. What do you think? I like Tragic Trev. I'm
We
hoping
all
he's
love
being.
Tragic Trev,
I'm
don't
hoping
we?
he's not being sarcastic.
But
He
is he?
says,
No, I don't think he is.
"Oh, good." He says, "With reference to all the derogatory stuff written in the chat box that you're promoting, where's the karma in that?"
You're allowed to say fecking. They said that on Father Ted.
Really?
Yes, where's the fecking karma in that?
Okay, I still feel bad saying it, so I'm glad you just said it anyways. He says, "I love you guys. Love Trev. Kiss, kiss, kiss."
We love you too, Trev.
Totally. And you know what? I still sometimes, in my dreams, hear you singing the What's in the Hole song because it's one of the funniest things ever, and I loved it. So thank you.
I do. In
You made my
dreams
year.
as well.
Really? Oh, have you heard it?
Nightmares. I was there on the night that you did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Did you laugh?
Yeah.
Did you lose control of yourself in any way?
Little.
Yeah, me too.
Little bit of wee.
Yep, just the littlest bit, but it was there. Right, back to the MTT. Now that I have my words
Ace
out.
Queen. Do we like that hand, Kara?
Where are they? Let me just take a look. He's on the big blind.
Yes.
Let's see what happens first.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Do we like it
Someone's
now?
gone all in. No.
He
How much did he
does.
have?
He called with it,
Okay,
figuring that it was short-handed, and maybe What's Pup has been doing some aggressive things. I still wouldn't do that with Ace Queen, and I certainly wouldn't do it that quickly with Ace Queen, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe that he'd go all in with Ace Jack.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. And therefore, he's doing it, as he's doing it with a pair of threes, but he's certainly doing it with sixes, sevens, eights,
Right.
He's wanting to close it down. Well, that means that we're an underdog. We're 45% underdog or 46% underdog.
But is
we're
it
still
worth
an
risking?
underdog. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, you're calling. Yeah.
You must have a better hand to call than to raise.
Yeah.
Right.
So, for me, what's happened is when someone goes all in, and you've got Ace Queen, unless they're doing it a lot, in which case it comes back to our maniac point.
Right.
Unless they're doing it a lot, you just go, bugger, I was going to re-raise maybe. I was certainly going to call from the big blind. But I'm not going to call that because now all I can do is just be calling.
Right.
And I don't get to see the flop. Re-raising is a very different issue because then of course you're putting the pressure back on them.
Right.
Unless you feel that you're re-raising in a situation where he's become pot committed, in which case you probably wouldn't re-raise.
Okay.
But that's the problem. I don't think that going all in with a pair of threes is the strongest play,
Right.
but it's not the strongest play for two reasons. A, because if you've got, a pair of jacks, for example, I would call, and certainly above. And it's also not the strongest play because if extracting the fact that you might be in the big blind, if you extract that, then against any random player in the big blind, then I think it's poor because, of course, they can then call you, and suddenly you are now in a situation where you are 50-50. But if you're in the big blind with Ace Queen, I just see it an awful lot. Players just, even though MGH had enough money in his stat to carry on playing this tournament.
Yeah. Still not worth it.
No.
Okay.
Here's another Ace Queen situation up against King 2 on this occasion. But let's see what the King 2 does. Just makes it up. And What's Pup? I think I don't mind that, to be honest. I don't mind either. It's probably a little bit big as a raise for me, but I don't mind either raising to take it there or checking and seeing what the flop comes. And if we make a good flop, because we're in the big blind and because no one has any information about what we come, if the flop does come ace or queen high, then it means that we're probably going to get a bet into us, and we can probably put in a raise and make some more money at that
get
point.
paid off on that.
Yeah. So I don't mind either, to be honest, and I think that's one of the key places in which you can vary your play.
Wow, so a set of kings here against a set of fives.
It certainly is. We know it's all going in at the end of the day.
It's going to go all wrong, I think, for Hawk 21.
Yeah. That's
Ouch.
poor guy. Because that is what you kind of want to happen in a tournament. So we say goodbye to Hawk 21.
Yep, and we're down to 4 players, and so Hawk 21 went home with just under $100. That was $96.80. Next person out is going to go away with 114. In fact, between third and fourth, there's a difference of about $40, so that's what they're playing for at the moment. Ace-Jack on the button, what would you do?
Oh, definitely raise.
Okay.
And it would be...
Wow, 6 times the big blind?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be that much, but it would be more than 3 times, actually. It would probably be 4.5 times. I'll tell you why. Is I want them to know that I'm in business, because the worst thing that can happen there is that bizarrely, I do one of 2 things. It would either be 4.5 times, a significant raise, or it would just be 2 times. I know that sounds really contradictory, but I want them to... it would be whatever I think that those 2 people would respond to then make them think that I've got a hand. Because actually, in that situation, I do want them to think I've got a hand.
Okay.
Because if they re-raise me, I can't call.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because suddenly I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Because I will have given out very obtuse information, and that's where I agree with James. And it's an interesting point because it sort of flies in the face of traditional poker theory, which is you want to know what other people have in such a way that they don't know what you have.
Right.
That conforms to the fundamental theorem of poker. But there are occasions, definitely, where we sort of want to tell people what we have in a way, because we want them to say, look, you know, you can call this if you want to, you can raise this if you want to, but I just want you to know I've got a good hand. So if you raise, it should mean something.
Right.
Yeah. I can't really explain at the moment why you want that situation and why that differs from traditional theory, but it does for some reason.
Okay, well, Rubisco Kid there with Queen 3, obviously throwing it away. Queen King on the button. I imagine he's going to be putting in, like you say, I was going to say more than 4.5 times a big blind, and there you go. He just did 3 times a big blind, but it was enough to push everyone else off and take the pot. And our big stack there is MJH, and a small stack is Feckless, although he's pretty close running. Feckless, What's Pup, and Rubisco Kid are all fairly close neck and neck there. And Rubisco Kid has hit bottom pair with a pair of 8s. And he takes a few chips out of MJH's stack. Shall I read you another email about chat box abuse?
Definitely.
Okay then. This one is from Rich, aka Cat.
There's more cats.
I know.
What's the...
There's so many cats out there and so many dogs, and I don't get it.
I'm going mad.
Really?
No. Go on.
Well, this one, anyways, is from a cat, and he says, "Hi, all. Just played a single table tournament where one guy was outdrawn and then started to abuse a person who outdrew him. This went on for a few minutes. 20 minutes later, the same player outdrew another. The second player then started the abuse up again. Then the first player, who'd been watching along, started his abuse again as well. This proceeded for a few more minutes until he went out third when the abuse really started, continuing on past the tournament finishing and there being only the two of them left, abusing the player alone. Well, number one, why would he stay there and just let that happen? The tournament was over. He should just go home. Or he was at home, I imagine. He just go somewhere else. I think the best bit of abuse there was I think you could also do with losing a few pounds in weight too. The whole thing made me laugh a lot. I guess some people get a bit bored and there you go. They stick with the abuse.
It's so funny when you outdraw someone and they abuse you. It's like you're sitting there going, I have no control over this.
That's
Do you
true.
know what I mean?
That is true, actually. That's just the cards.
The one thing in the world there's no point abusing me for is when I've outdrawn someone. It's weird. You're weird. Whoever does it is weird. And I honestly, I maintain that it's so bad for your play. I really do.
Yeah. I just think it's strange that the game had stopped, the tournament was over. Why would someone just stay there and let two other players abuse him in the chat box?
I don't know, maybe he's enjoying it in a sort of masochistic kind of a way.
It might have had to be, really. It's a bit strange, though. There you go. There's one here as well from Matt about the same thing. It says, I used to get crazy mad with Muppet play. Like, I'm not sure what that means, and would let them know in no uncertain terms what I thought of them and their play. I soon realized, however, that it had absolutely no effect on them, but it did have on me by making me try to exact revenge on them and then usually losing hands I shouldn't even have been in. My solution to this was simply to switch off the chat and just get on with it. Let the Muppets do their thing, as in the long run, they always lose. The strangest thing that happened to me on a poker table was not being able to see whole cards I'd been dealt for a couple of hands. Well, I suppose that's quite difficult. And he said another one was, there's a couple of glitches and whatnot, but he says maybe I just had too much beer and I saw it wrong. That's a possibility as well. Sometimes that's what happens. But there you go. So I think you're right. The whole karma thing, if you let them get to you with their chat and you start chatting back, it becomes the focus of your play. And then you're probably going to get into hands that you shouldn't. This is what I do as well. Not with the abuse, but just the general chit-chat. There you go. Right, should we go back to our multi-table tournament?
If we must.
I believe we should.
Contractual obligations.
That's what the show is about. There we go. Still have the 4 players left. Down to the final 4. And what are they playing for? They're playing for a grand prize total of $363. And that's what they're playing for. At least 10 places were paid in this tournament. That's another difference between a single table and a multi-table tournament. There's often, as there are so many more players entering, obviously there's a larger prize pool, which means it's not just the top 3 that get paid. Sometimes it's the top 20, sometimes the top 10, sometimes the top 30, depending on the number of players involved and the amount of money involved. So there are a few different bubble situations. You get a different sort of strategy happening there because sometimes between, say, 11 and 19, as the ranking for the players, they'll make the same amount of money. So whether they go out at 11, whether they go out at 19, they make the same amount of money. So it creates kind of a different sort of bubble situation, doesn't it?
Yes, no, it does. Very much so.
There you go, a pair of 8s against a 3-9. It obviously throws it away.
No, I'm going to test you a couple of times now.
Oh,
right?
no.
Well, King Jack and small blind now, come on.
King Jack and small blind?
Yes, what are you going to do there?
Throw it away.
Wait
a minute, here?
Yes, here, yeah.
Okay, oh.
It's not a theoretical question.
Oh, I thought it was a theoretical question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
King Jack
okay,
and
that's
small
good.
blind.
So, Ace-10.
Ace-10 first off.
Okay, you're going to raise it up now. What are you going to do with your Ace-Jack now?
With my Ace-Jack, I'm going to put it away.
Interesting. I'm tempted actually to do what he did there.
Really?
Yeah, because we're four-handed. Last night in the...
But I said that about something else, and you said I was wrong. Because it was like four-handed.
Yeah, but it was also different then,
Okay,
wasn't
it was a completely different situation, different cards, yes.
It was like eight-handed with King Jack
It was
blind.
not, it was not. But I get your point, yes.
But they are the factors that make the difference.
They are the
That's why
factors.
the hand in itself in isolation is irrelevant.
Yes. Yes, oh great one. I agree with you. I have much
Well,
to learn.
you know, I can shut up if you're going to start.
No, I'm not being sarcastic here. Seriously, I do. I have much to learn. I know this. I'm just a bit bitter myself because I do feel a bit beaten.
Why?
Badly beaten. Because I was badly beaten twice today already. It's just... Oh, sigh. I find it difficult to lose, you know, consistently.
Can I say that you have so much practice?
God. I'm getting really good at it.
Seriously, this is actually descending to the level that me and Michelle are most of the time. Now, I know that sounds like, you know, fun and friendly, but actually it's pathetic.
Uh-oh.
Not that you're pathetic,
I was just
but
gonna
that me and
say.
Michelle are pathetic.
Oh.
I don't think you want to be where we are.
Okay. I don't think Michelle's pathetic. Or a six-pointer. So there.
6-pointer. I meant a 6-pointer, like in skating, where a perfect 6.
Oh, see, that's lovely.
Isn't that brilliant?
Have you been thinking about that all night, trying to find something to say that would make it better?
She's perfect.
Well done. That was the only thing I think you could have said. That makes it all better again.
Beat her at pool, though.
Oh.
She'll be watching now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Michelle.
She'll have come in from the pub and she'll be watching now. And you'll have just got me into so much trouble.
But she's a 6-pointer.
She is. She's beautiful.
She absolutely is.
King 8 small blind. You see, now I throw that away, as indeed what Pup did.
Okay.
I don't like it at all. Okay, Ace 9 in the small blind. Is that different?
Different
Better,
to what?
worse, or about the same?
To what? To what?
To the previous small blind. Raise? Fold, call, or raise?
Oh, God. I probably would have raised there.
Good.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay.
Well, I think you should. I just wouldn't.
It just doesn't feel right. But technically, it's not a bad thing to do.
Technically, it's not a bad thing to do.
Okay. King, Queen, and the small blind. I'd be raising it.
Is he in the small blind?
Isn't he? He was done, yeah.
He's in the big blind. I think he just.
Oh,
he
you're
just,
right,
He just
sorry.
re-raised a
Yeah.
raise. And I like that, actually, I have to say.
You're a fan?
Yeah, I'm going with that because for me, again, it's the whole insecurity of the small blind. What can the small blind call you with? A small blind generally would have to have had a hand that he wouldn't have raised with in the first place.
I suppose so, yeah.
Okay, Ace Jack in the small blind. Now, here the key thing is that with a big stack. So here, I'm happy to be the raiser. In fact, that's an excellent move because that puts Feckless under pressure where he's saying, right, most of your chips right now, son, in the pot, or you're going home in an ambulance.
Ooh.
Don't underestimate me.
It's very Ray Winston of you.
No, it's what's his name?
Sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, sugar.
And that's why my fee for this has gone to Great Ormond Street.
And we are still four-handed here.
Ace 10 in early position. Would you raise up like that, Kara?
Four-handed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Why?
Because that's a pretty good hand, four-handed.
Good. Even in first position?
I think so.
Well, you know I'm going to say good now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think so. Oh, I
He
do
just
like
raised-
the praise.
He just raised it twice the big blind. Now what do we think of twice the big blind? Oh, hang on a second. Two threes, 6 times the big blind in first position. Good or bad?
I wouldn't have done it.
No. Why not?
It's not a good enough hand, and if you get called, it's going to only be with a better hand, and it's not going to hold out.
Good. 3 times the big blind is enough raise there because exactly what you said. It's likely that the good hand, the better hand, is just going to call you. So suddenly you're in for 6 times the big blind
Ouch. Yeah.
when they will raise to a 3. They will fold rather to a 3 times the big blind raise. It might not fold to a 2 times the big blind raise, especially the big blind might call you, but that's why 3 times the big blind is a good amount. It gives the incorrect pot odds for most hands to call, and the big blind will, at this stage in the tournament, fold.
Okay.
Now look.
Ooh. Ooh.
So that's a nice situation there
Wow.
for Rubisco. And there you have the small and big blind jousting away. When we talk about the blinds, and when I talk about folding the small blind, of course, the massive counter-argument to it is that a quarter of the time you're going to be in the small blind, and since much of this competition is about the battle of the blinds, it's bad for me to be disregarding one of the key situations. I understand all that, I accept all that, but then we have seen the small blind beaten up on a number of occasions already.
Well, he's certainly in a good position now, Rubisco Kid. 87,000 chips there. What's popping for us? Oh gosh, the big blind's at 4,000, so they've got to find a hand to go in with. Would you have gone in with the 8 queen?
I would have done just that, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I've now got 5 times the big blind. I've got to make a move. Queen 8 suited. All right, it's not great. I'm in first position. Am I? Oh, no, I'm in first position. I like stealing from that situation.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that from the button because it gets more respect, and that's what I mean by those little subconscious things that people don't necessarily register a lot because it's only one position in their case. It's not like a whole table. But yeah, I like that, and I'm happy to throw this away with A6, completely 110% happy. That's the kind of call I think that loses tournaments.
Really?
Oh, 100%. I can't tell you. Why would you call? Why would you call in that situation?
Right.
You want those chips to raise.
Right.
You're calling with A6, which means that you're putting that guy on Ace5 or below.
Yeah.
Ace5, Ace4, Ace3, Ace2.
Not very likely.
I mean, if he's got like King Queen, King Jack, you're such a tiny favourite anyway with Ace5. First and fourth is a terrible situation to be in. So why are you putting your tournament on a coin toss when within 3 or 4 hands you could quite easily, you know, he won masses of chips. He won the blinds with Queen 8, showing himself that he can do it, and then he calls with A6. It's made me angry.
Has it? I can see the flashing, your flashing eyes and everything. It's just...
I don't want people to do that. I want people to save their chips for when they can win.
You seem more sad than angry. It's quite sad, really. Oh, well. Maybe this will cheer you up. I'll read you another email. How about that?
Not
Take
this
your mind
one.
off of it. Okay. Not that one, then. I won't be doing that. Instead, how about if you want to send an email in, I'll give you an idea how to do that. You can send us a text or an email. Text number is 84222. See, I almost did the old
Caught you
text
out there,
number.
you see.
I know, I wasn't paying attention. Text the word poker and your question to 84222. It's a new number. Don't make a mistake like I just about did. Or you can obviously send us an email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Right. So let's take a look at this as well. Email from Steve, aka Illiterum.
Illiteratum.
It's too late in the night. Illiteratum, as in Illuminati and some such words. Anyways, hi Karen Cass. Nice to see you back, Cass. Your slightly philosophical approach is a welcome, if slightly barmy, change from the straightforward hand analysis. I agree. My way of coping with outdraws, well, actually 2 ways. Oh, I agree in that it's very refreshing, not in the slightly barmy bit.
Okay.
Number 1, this is how he copes with outdraws. Number 1, tell myself it's much better to suffer 9 outdraws and get lucky just once than the other way around. Why? Because if you're outdrawn, it means you've done all you can. You've done your job, chips in while you're ahead, etc. After that, well, the cards have a life of their own. And number 2, I have the cutest looking soft toy, a cuddly duck given to me by a 3-year-old at school.
Now hang on a second. Is he at school?
Oh, and I'm probably a teacher.
But what's a 3-year-old doing at school? You're not supposed to start school till 5.
Well, no, they go to nursery at 3.5.
So it's
don't
nursery?
they? Okay, nursery.
It's not school, it's nursery.
Maybe it's a very advanced 3-year-old.
Well, maybe it's Doogie Howser.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. Okay. Right.
I don't think
fuzzy
Doogie
duck,
Howser
anyways.
gives out cuddly ducks. I
He
think he's
might
got
have
better
done.
things to
He
do.
might have done.
I think he's
Okay.
just slightly too clever for his age. I don't think he's a genius, this kid.
Okay, anyway, the cuddly duck at nursery gave, see, a 3-year-old at nursery gave this person a cuddly duck. It sits in a bowl by the computer,
Just
and
wanna get
if
it
my
right.
queen is beaten by a lemon calling with ace-5, then the duck gets it. Invective, threats of violence, grievous bodily harm, all the way to the duck. That all goes to the duck. Meanwhile, I type nice call in the chat box and move on. It works for me. I just caught the tail end of the Nick in the Book story. What's that title again, please? I don't think we actually did the title. There you go.
What Nick and Book story? Oh, Aces, Kings and Queens.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting this, though, because genuinely what he's done is Jung talks about a part of the mind called the shadow, right? And we need an outlet for the shadow, because otherwise the shadow gets backed up and starts to infect other parts of our psyche. And so what he's done is created a voodoo doll.
Right, yep.
Yeah. Which, I can't tell you, there's a part of my life, there's a company that where we use voodoo dolls.
Right, okay.
Because we have a lot of anger for different people, and so having voodoo dolls gets the anger out in a contained way.
Understood. It's healthy.
Yeah, it is incredibly healthy. It's a really, really healthy way of doing it. So that, rather than abuse in the chat box with other people, it's good. Should we go back to the MTT?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look at the MTT.
I thought it was going to be like the end of Police Squad, though. We were going to sit really still.
I know. See, I was looking at the monitor. You were looking away.
Good. So Rubisco in a commanding lead with that Ace-King versus Ace-7. It's made all the difference. Ace-5 in the big blind now. Fold the 2-10. Let's move it along a bit. Nothing to see here. Ace-5 again. I would have raised there from Rubisco's situation. Or maybe not. Maybe I'd go back to my let them knock each other out thing. I haven't seen much evidence of the fact that these two will knock each other out. So let's keep watching for that evidence. Ace-9, is that enough to make a raise here? Well, with a smaller stack, so we've got to put a bigger stack bullying us, but yes. Of course, it's one of those situations that wouldn't have been enough had Rubisco had Ace-Jack, as he's got there, quite weirdly. But the cards play it to a certain extent. And
well, they're both going to like the hands that they have. Oh, in fact, this is good. Throws it away in the face of a large raise. Jack-10.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. We have to remember in a heads-up situation that you've only got Jack high with Jack-10. So it feels nice because you think of it as a drawing hand, but in actual fact, bad boy.
It's not, but it is a drawing hand.
Bad dog. Yeah, but you don't want a drawing hand heads up.
Right, okay.
Okay, so I'm throwing Queen 4. He's decided to raise with it. It could be a nice raise. Rubisco may well fold his 10-3. Good stuff. And that, I think, comes back to the point that Tom and Mark talk about the feel and the narrative and things like that. And if MJH hasn't raised that much in the small blind, then that could well be a really good, effective move.
Well, a pair of 10s against a pair of jacks.
As the seconds tick by.
We're down to the last few hands here in our multi-table tournament. The exciting end of this. 10s against jacks. Oh, and a jack comes down.
Didn't need the jack, folks, we know that, but
yeah.
It's just, that's Christmas, isn't it? Curtains for Christmas. You ever had curtains for Christmas? That'd
Never
be
had.
Rubbish, wouldn't it?
That'd be awful. It's worse than socks, really.
Curtains? What am I supposed to do with these?
Put them on your windows.
Draw them.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh,
we're pretty evens in this heads up thing.
Game we like to call Texas Hold'em Poker.
And who's your money on?
Rubisco Kid, my money.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll take MJH then.
Okay.
That'll add a bit of excitement the last
Yes, it will.
5.5 minutes or so.
Keep us on our toes, keep us fresh, excited.
And Rubisco obviously wants to end it here and now with his massive 23,000 raise. Good for him. Ooh, Ace King. Ace King served him so well earlier on at the Ace-7. How he accumulated this stack. Has MGH got the discipline to lay it down, or will he fancy a little call? No, he lays it down. That's why I'm quite fancying MGH here.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't mind you having Rubisco because I'm sure you're going to suck out, but I feel that I've got the more talented player.
Yeah, I suppose. He's got a good feel for the narrative, has he?
I think so, yeah. Quite liking it.
Okay.
Quite liking it.
Oh, I think Rubisco's got the feel for the narrative and that extra edge.
An extra edge, you say?
Yes. 15,000
Is
chips.
he four-dimensional?
Might be.
Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer becomes three-dimensional? Because it does take place in a Tron-like grid, not too dissimilar to the background of the Poker Night Live
That's true, actually.
mainframe.
Yeah. That's great.
Doesn't he say something in that that's very... Well, obviously he says a lot of things that are very funny. But when he first looks at himself in 3 dimensions, doesn't he have a funny line at that point? Rubisco does like the plus 20,000 raise. And I tell you what, it's backfired on him this time. Look at this, MGH senses it, smells blood, and comes over the top, and that's brilliant play from my boy there.
And they've swung it the other way now. The pendulum has gone the other way, and MJH is in the lead.
Do not underestimate me.
Every time I hear that, I love it more.
We flopped a straight.
Oh, no.
And that's why my fee for this ad has gone to Great Ormond Street Hospital.
Oh.
Come on, MJ.
Oh, bottom pair.
Brilliant stuff. He's made a little bet there that's suckering Rubisco in.
Oh, no.
I wanted to see a 10 there. I haven't seen it, but will Rubisco have a silly rush of blood now and say a big pot? No, but that has given us a 142 to 40 lead.
That's quite painful.
Enough to take the kid to the cleaners.
It's not crippling. It's not crippling.
You pay to see the hand, lessons are extra.
Now he's going to have to be careful now, Rubisco kid. Doesn't have the chips to be all, you know, fancy.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, and those are not the cards you're going to want.
And this is that killer part of the tournament where you've got to have cards and momentum, because if you don't have momentum and you know your opponent will call and you don't have cards... Oh, look at this!
Oh, boy, this is going to be...
Someone's doubling through.
Yeah.
Mr. Kidd.
Oh, boy, unless MJH hits a queen on the flop. I bet.
Wouldn't that be
come
funny?
On.
No, really.
No, I bet. I bet they go all in and that's what happens. Yeah, Rubisco kid is all in. Let's see.
Oh!
I was
still
wrong.
ahead. I'm still ahead.
Yes, but I'm on the comeback trail. The Rubisco kid is on the comeback trail. Come on. That
Ace
could have
9,
been
Ace
so
9,
bad.
Ace 4. This is one of the hands that...
Oh, come on now. How are you going to play this? What are you going to do?
Would you call? Oh, that re-raise, that's a...
Oh.
Oof. This is where it ends.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, gotta be. Because
Oh, boy.
MJH was an aggressive player. I knew he'd come over the top of that. And Rubisco's now feels pot committed, so there
Yeah.
we go all in. No, that's too
3,
aggressive
4,
with the Ace
5, 6. Oh.
4. Hooray!
No.
Home time.
Oh, fabulous. Well done, MJH. It's like you brought it home to victory yourself, really.
Oh, I'm crying a bit with all the tension.
With all, it's amazing. Right, let's quickly get in one last email. We only have about a minute and a half. So
Let's
here
do
we
it
go.
quick. Let's do
right,
it quick.
Hi,
Let's
my
go
name is
for it.
Daniel.
Let's
Great
go for
show.
it. Which one is it, Daniel? Great.
I just had to say that before I got started. I experienced 2 very interesting situations in a $5,000 free roll tonight. Number 1, we've been playing for a while and we're approximately 560 players left. I've got the big blind and I get Jack 9 offsuit. My table image is pretty tight, so I raise pre-flop, 3 players call. The flop is 7-8-8, suits don't matter. I come out and represent the 8 with betting, 6,000. 2 players fold, I call, the turn is Jack. I bet 10,000 and as I have hit my top pair and have 10,000 left to play with. After 15 or 20 seconds of thinking, the opponent re-raises me all in. What would you do in this situation? Anyways, after a while of thinking, I ended up calling and he shows King Jack. If there is a god in poker, I think he loved me in that situation because the river comes and it's a 10, which gives me a straight. Not enough time to read your other funny situation, but thank you for sharing that one with us. Now, don't forget that we are going to be on tomorrow night with the first ever Poker Night Live qualifier for the Poker Bowl. So you're going to want to tune in and see that, because that's quite exciting. Also, lots more great poker action, lots more commentary for a pro night. Anything to say? You want to say good night to the good people?
Good night, good people.
Good night, good people.
Take care.